Hello, everybody.
You didn't have weapons before we went live.
Greetings, fellow warriors. We are prepared for battle.
Well, I hope everybody's doing well this evening in the chat. And how's everybody doing here? Hey,
Doing
Shieldwall.
good.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. This might be the last stream I'm on for a little while. I got some personal stuff coming up that might have me out of pocket for like a month or so. So I'm glad. I'll be on Roman's show on Thursday, and that'll probably be my last one for a while. But this will be the last time I'm on one of your shows for a little while anyway. So everything's cool. It's just got some things I need to take care of. But this is a great movie to kind of take a hiatus on. Also, all hail Biomat. Yeah, exactly. Val before his crown that he's got on. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. This is a great movie. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, we'll get into it. It's gonna be fun. Cool. And also, it's great meeting the other two guys, Uninspired Reviewer and Technical.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yep.
You awesome. Too. We've never talked before.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
It's going. That's the best thing to say. I'm stuck in New Jersey, so it's going, you know.
Yeah. And first time for Uninspired Reviewer to be on my channel. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to meet everyone else on the panel too. It's going to be a good discussion. We're going to talk about a pretty underrated movie, in my opinion, even though it was my first time watching it in about a decade. But yeah, I was thoroughly pleased, and there's a lot to say that could be interesting. So yeah, I'm happy to see where it goes.
Yeah. And another first is Technically Mexican. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It's a great movie. I actually just talked about this movie on one of my live streams. We were going through like underrated films that we were recommending movies to watch instead of the crap that's coming out of Hollywood right now. So we were like, these are the deep cuts that like no one remembers, and one of my favorites was 13th Warrior. Because it's phenomenal, and now we get to talk about it.
Yeah, it's definitely better than most of the stuff out now.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Let me say hello to the chat. Let me say hello to the chat, and we'll get into it. First off, we got Roman. Hey, Roman. What's up, man?
I see Mark Clark there in the audience as well.
Mark Clark.
Good guy.
Ricky B. Bad. Yeah. Hey, Corey. Glad you came by, man. There's Melvin. Mr. Brown, hello. Welcome. Hey, Mark. What's going on, man? And that's it.
We got Blair in there, too.
Yeah, Blair
snuck in with his cloak of invisibility on.
Ah, there he is. So sneaky. So yeah, let's jump into this movie.
Yes, sir.
Spoilers, right? We can.
So would you like me to do like a book background thing, Jacob?
Guys, I was not.
Yeah, definitely.
I had no idea that there were 13 warriors in this movie. I thought it was going to be 12 the whole time.
Really?
Wow. What a twist.
Well, nowadays they would subvert you, and there would be like 4 warriors.
Well, or just you replace 5 of them with 1 woman, you know?
Yeah.
That the math adds up.
Well, actually, all 13 would just be like 13 men would be equivalent to 1 woman, and then we just get 1 warrior.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
That's it. Yeah.
So this is based on a book by Michael Crichton written in like 76 or 77 called Eaters of the Dead. Since the movie came out, they retitled it to The 13th Warrior. So you probably might see it by that title in a more modern edition. And this is a book that was made because someone told Michael Crichton they thought Beowulf was the most boring thing they ever read. Okay? So, yeah. A lot of books are like that. Like Jim Butcher with the Dresden Files. The reason he wrote the Codex Alera series because someone said Roman history was boring or something like that. Anyway, so and when he wrote this book, obviously he used Beowulf and Grendel, which is the monster story, so to speak, right? But where does the Arabic character come from? Well, most people know who read Norse history. I don't have all of them near me, but they know some of the sources we have, like the two Eddas, the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, or the history of the Danish people written by Saxo Grammaticus and so forth. These are basically the Vikings themselves, which was the 9th age to the 12th age, roughly, didn't have a written tradition. They kept everything orally. The only thing that they wrote down were on their grave markers in their temples. So that's skaldic poetry, for example. And so the Christians who were converting them wrote some stuff down. That's basically what the most people know. Well, on the other side of Scandinavia, Muslims from the Middle East were converting their way northwestward, so to speak, right? And they were also writing stuff down. And the surviving source there was the travelogue of Ahmad ibn Fadlan, who is the character Antonio Banderas plays here. And now this is a big change from reality to the book and movie, okay? In reality, what happened is he was a religious scholar and a very wise man in Muslim communities. And the people who had been converted didn't understand Islam properly, so he was sent northward to teach them how to live by the Quran and all that sort of stuff, right? And when he did that, he wrote down a travelogue, right? And now in the movie, they converted to him being a sort of rogue who was exiled, right? He wasn't exiled;
Right.
he was sent on a specific mission. And then, then what happened is his travelogue got lost, right? But it was referenced in other documents in bits and pieces. So they said, well, it doesn't really exist. Then in like 1925, they found a full copy of not only his travelogue, but all the other travelogues of people on that trip, on that caravan, so to speak. His was the most voluminous and had the Viking stuff, right? And what he recorded is what you'll see in the movie, the Viking funeral, right, with the warrior. That prayer in the movie, "Oh Lord, I see my fathers." That's actually something almost exactly what Fadlan recorded them saying. So the first in the book is the first 3 chapters or so almost are Crichton's interpretation of Fadlan's history, so to speak,
right?
And then it switches over to him being the 13th warrior.
Yep.
There is one change from the movie. I haven't read the book since like the 80s, so I don't remember all the detailed differences. But one semi-significant change is in the book, Ahmad was more scholarly like he was in real life. And the reason that Bolivar liked him on the mission was he was always giving him good advice and sound, logical, rational thoughts. You see some of that later on, right? But he was like that from the beginning. That was his real contribution in the book, so to speak.
It's definitely hinted at in the movie. Like he's the one that gives like their revelations for their tactics and stuff.
But, and they also, I'll explain. Like how I said in the pre-show, having read the book, you'd understand the plot of the movie very well. Whereas just watching the movie, some things might not be obvious.
Yes.
When we get to those points, I'll mention a few things.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, I do. Okay. So, one more thing. The concept of spoiler in the movie, guys, right? The bear warriors, berserkers, right? That gets misinterpreted by modern times. We know there were berserkers. We know there were wolf berserkers, like Amleth in the Norseman was a wolf berserker, for example. There may have been pig berserkers. There's no direct record of that, but there's an indication. So technically, they were followers of Odin, but Crichton adapted them to be the berserkers to be more of like the Beowulf Grendel story,
Okay.
Yeah, these guys in the movie are more like cavemen or something.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and they weren't. I thought they were in the book. They were. What are they? The cavemen. They were.
They call them the Wendell, right?
Yeah.
It's like Grendel, basically.
Wendell means Grendel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're using them as the monster, but they're plural because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's like a culture almost, as
Yeah.
opposed to a one creature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's more fun.
Yeah.
It's more realistic.
Yeah, it's more realistic. It's not as because I mean, there is a dragon in air quotes, but not a real one.
Yeah. The fireworm.
Yeah, the fireworm, which I thought was cool.
It is cool.
So I got a real quick question. So out of the panel, who was this the first time seeing this movie? So everyone had already seen it before. It's just we watched it as a refresher.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I like that it's basically like it like explains the existence of Beowulf, the story, and that like these are the real events that inspired the story, and of course like back then it was passed on and the details got muddled and stuff, but like so it's like if Beowulf actually happened, this is kind of what it would have looked like.
And well, that's a great point.
And it became more fantastical, like the fireworm turns into an actual dragon, and then the hordes of the Wendell turn into this fantastical monster, and like because like all the details are there in the movie, like the plot points are from Beowulf are pretty much, some of them are out of order, but like every single thing is there.
Yeah.
Well, except the dragon.
Well, the dragon's there. It's just out of order.
Yeah.
So, but that's a great point you made. That I said earlier that the Norse cultures were all oral. The first people who write anything down about them were the Christian monks and scholars who were outsiders penetrating inward, and they obviously reinterpreted certain things and whatever,
Right.
So it's kind of telling that he got banished because he fell in love with a sultan's concubine or something.
I think it's completely unnecessary.
100% unnecessary.
The first like 2 minutes of the movie are just like, hey, here's this guy, and this is information you really don't need because it has nothing to do with the story. And now he's in the north.
They had to do the setup to show that where he was from and that
why there's a Muslim in
and also to show the splendor of Baghdad, right? Because at the time, the Arab world was at the height of science, medicine, mathematics, architecture. If you went into that sphere around the Mediterranean, around the Middle East, down into like India and stuff, those people were highly civilized. They'd had civilization for a long time, advanced metalworking, all that kind of stuff. So also writing and those types of things. Also, by did we lose Jacob again? Guess the raccoons got him. But
the Wendell are picking him
by showing that he got banished basically because he was a Chad. You know what I mean? He's like trying to roll up on women and stuff. So it gives you the idea that he's kind of a bad boy.
But I feel like they could have done that better. For example, wouldn't you think that it would have been better in the story if they had written maybe a poignant scene a poignant monologue for Antonio Banderas' character, so for Ahmed, to explain all of this? Even it would be the same type of exposition, but you would see more from his perspective, and I think that him doing it in a monologue would amplify, his character arc that he goes through.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that they were trying to set that scene about where he's from and what the world that he comes from in as short a span and scope as possible, just to get the story going. Because if you don't have a lot of information about, Islam and the Middle Eastern culture and science and those kinds of things of that time, you might not really get how more advanced they really are than the Vikings, as far as certain aspects of their culture are.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that the film manages to do that regularly throughout its runtime, and it manages to show, for example, Antonio Banderas' character is a bit more how. Thank you, Zax.
He kind of has his nose turned up to their culture at first.
Yeah,
right?
basically. And so you have Antonio Banderas' character, the way that he learns rapidly and everything like that. You could say that it's an extension of the Arab influence and how advanced they were, with intelligence and culture at the time.
Now you mentioned that, I was going to mention it when he got to the language scene, but both Fadlan and Bolivar are polyglots. They learn, they pick up languages like that. That's how they were able to bridge that gap.
Right. And and that again shows exactly how smart he is. Now, you were saying in the books that he used that intelligence to give Bolvide like good advice, right?
Yeah, he was constantly giving him advice. He was helping him analyze stuff. He was more of an intellectual character than he was more of like in the movie. He's more of a roguish character,
Right.
Whereas he was a religious scholar and a thinking man more so, like he was.
Well, this movie came out pretty much after Zorro, right?
I think it did.
Yeah, so everyone's expecting Antonio Banderas to be,
I'm not objecting to the change. I'm making note of it, because I wish they had. Well, I mean, this is already a long movie, but I wish they had gone closer to the real world origin of Fadlan, and maybe there's one thing in this movie. I don't know if you guys caught it, that it's like. It seems like a short time is occurring, but it's really they're on this journey for like weeks and months. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it seemed like it was like a 3 or 4 day thing, but this is more like a 6 months or a year. Like there was a long event. You know what I mean?
You see, that's the problem I have with the movie, is that it doesn't show the passage of time correctly. After, I would say, so when they arrive at the village, basically, where they have to save the people from the Wendos, I think that over there, that's when the passage of time isn't really shown properly. But for the rest, like, it's done incredibly well. You can tell that it's over the course of a few months, but I don't know.
I think that all adds up to like my only complaint or problem with the movie. But by the way, this came out way before Zorro. It was Zorro came out 6 years later. But I think with regard to the passage of time and how awkward like the first 2 minutes are, there is no fat on this film, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing in that I think there are lots of times where they could have taken more time, made it just a little bit longer to, like, if you're going to show him coming from Baghdad at the beginning, maybe take a little bit more time there so that we can get to know, like, have something that introduces his character and his personality, so that afterwards when he's thrust into this completely different world, it makes more sense. Or like the Uninspired reviewer said, don't show it at all and have it come out within dialogue as he's getting to know this new crew, and they're like, hey, so where are you from? It's like, oh, well, I was a prince or whatever, like saying all this stuff, and you're like, oh wait, that's not what I expected, right? So like that's like my only complaint about the film is I wish it was a little bit longer, and they definitely could have slowed a couple scenes down to again show like passage of time and just how just the scope of this film is so big that you don't realize it at first because it's over so quickly.
I agree. I think it starts out, it's an hour 47 if I remember correctly, but I think that it could have gone to 2 hours 15 minutes easily, very easily, and it would have been better for the film because you would have more development for each 13 of the warriors. Because
you don't get to know a lot of them very well.
Exactly.
Well, some of that is because the director basically got fired before he finished the film.
Right.
Yeah.
John McTiernan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know who finished it? It was,
I know Crichton did some shots. I don't know if he's the final director, but
yeah, he was. Michael Crichton was the final director.
Interesting. Yeah. You can. Yeah. That explains a lot.
By the way, this is something to pay attention to from here on out. Whoever did the armoring on this, like for all the extras and whatever.
Oh, the costumes are wonderful.
Well, here's interesting. like a lot of people wonder, like, why do actors who are in these type of war movies never wear helmets or masks or whatever? Because they act with their faces, right? If you look at the 13 warriors, the ones who never speak, they have helms on.
Yeah.
So this guy
knew
he knew he had to keep it off the actors who were speaking, but he kept the helms on the ones who never spoke.
It's okay. You don't need to know this guy. He's got a helmet on.
Right. One thing I did like about this is that he has Omar Sharif's character here is his
Mecca. It sounds like the Bible king Mecca.
I like, okay, so he's his traveling companion. He's in a way his mentor, I feel like, in the movie. And when they get to the camp,
my helm's got to go. There's too much pressure on my ears. Sorry.
When he gets to the camp, I like how it's not just everyone can understand each other.
Mm-hmm. The translation scene is great. Like I study translation, and it's like one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema.
It's very well done, in my opinion, to show you, but they don't stick with it. Eventually, they just go to full English.
Yeah, full English.
Because that way they're not burdening the audience with it all. But they give you an example of how it's working and how it would really work. And I really like it. And I know that Omar Sharif was not happy with how this movie worked out. I thought he did a standing performance, and he elevated the movie.
He did
by his performance and presence.
That was one complaint that a bunch of people made, that they wish he could have been in it more.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think that he should have been in it more. And plus, when they're doing the translation scene, it's also enhanced by the cinematography, because most of it's pretty stylized, as if it's seen through Antonio Banderas's or through Ahmed's eyes.
Yes.
With the way the camera keeps panning around, and even the framing of the characters, they're not very center framed. They're always on the sides, which is pretty interesting also.
And also it kind of shows their mouth a little more. So he's watching their mouth move as opposed to so he's watching what they're saying as opposed to listening, because he can't really understand.
Yeah, I did read somebody that was about language, that you can in a week learn enough to get by in a different culture.
If it's not your second language, yeah.
But he pointed out that the trip would have taken months.
And
he
honestly, I got
learned
that
quite a bit.
I got that when they travel to the north after this scene here, and he's learning the language. I understood that to mean that they were on the road for quite a long time.
Yep.
I just want to remind you that both Ahmed and Bollywood are both especially gifted at that. So picking up languages. It's not, in other words, they're not regular people learning a language.
Yeah.
They're both polyglots. They both pick up languages like that.
But it is true that like pretty much anyone, once you've learned like more than 3 languages, picking up a new one is like it's a lot faster.
Yeah,
it's true. And especially in the way that he learned it, he was surrounded by people who only spoke that
language.
Immersion.
Yeah, that is the
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying polyglots are people who speak like 10, 15, 20 languages.
So just to back up a little bit, as they're traveling up to this camp where the Vikings are, their caravan master's like, all right, we're entering a very dangerous area, and I'm trying to think of the name of the raiders. They were like they were another group of people that raided the area.
The Bulgar,
Tartars, right? And they're like, oh, the Tartars are here, and the Tartars come and they see the Viking camp and they take off.
Yep.
They're like, hey, we don't want none of these guys. So
it was a very good way to introduce
they're like, who are these Viking? Or like, who are these guys? If the Tartars, thanks, Blair. If the Tartars are scared of them, right, then these guys must not be anybody to mess with. And so then they get here, they're welcomed for trading, and that's when they go into the translation thing. And if you back up a little bit, while they're in the tent, they're introduced to Bolvi, who's going to be their new leader of the Vikings, and somebody attempts to assassinate him, and he just splits his chest open with the sword.
That's his brother.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
They're basically the heirs to the king.
Yeah.
And the funeral is their father, right? So
right.
They're basically trying to dispute who's going to be the king, because it's not always like firstborn son in Viking cultures. There's a martial aspect to it, and so they basically come to blows. He kills him, and that makes him the king. Okay.
He gives him one big blow, and then that's it. Plus, it's really well done. You can just see a huge gash completely, basically almost rips his chest in half. Really well done, and it sets the tone for the level of violence of the movie, where it's realistic, but it's not overtly. How do I say this? It's not glorified, basically.
Right. And also, as soon as he's done killing that dude, it's like everyone just goes back to what they were doing.
Yep.
And then of course, then you have the funeral, and this is taken directly from the
Falnod's Travel Chronicles.
His chronicles.
And I wanted to say, my brain just fritzed. I had a comment and went in one brain and out the other one. I'll remember it when one of you cue me on it.
Yeah, so this is where he hears the prayer.
Oh, okay. So I got it. Okay. So if people who don't understand where they are in the Northmen, where Amleth does his first raid is the same area of Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Nice.
The Rus are the people that Amleth was raiding. Well, that's the people that Fadlan recorded his Viking history from, so to speak.
Yeah, so what he did was he traveled up the Volga River, which goes all the way to the Baltic, which is how the Vikings got down here. So they use it as like a highway, and this is somewhere in the middle-ish of it.
Yeah.
Just like historically, do we even know who recorded like the first version of Beowulf?
No. Well, the first recorded version was by Christian monks hundreds of years later.
I mean, the movie kind of implies that Antonio Banderas' character is going to write the story, but
well, the whole reason Tolkien did what he did with making up the Legendarium was because that original Germanic culture was lost, and the only surviving remnants of it was the Norse culture. So the Angles, like the northern Germanic tribes, became the Norse people. The Westerns became the Angles, the Saxons, and the Normans. So,
one thing to mention about that burial scene is they tell even Falad that you won't see this again. This is the old ways. They things are changing, and we're not. They're not going to burn ships and sacrifice thralls to travel with them.
Well, she was a volunteer.
Right, she was a volunteer, but she was a one of his servants.
Yeah.
Yep. Basically,
hey, Mrs. Connolly.
And this is from the transition from the burial scene to this scene is probably one of the first editing problems that I have with the film, because it fades to black so quickly and just comes back so quickly, and it's something that's weird, because if you have a burial scene that long that is going to be significant at the end of the movie after the speech and everything, I don't understand why they wouldn't fade to black and take at least, let's say, 5 or 6 seconds to go slowly. Why just do it in 1.5, which is weird to me.
I don't. Also, we did touch on it, but there's an important thing that happens when she is getting ready to be sacrificed on there. So they lift her up, and then as they lift her up, she says a line of the prayer, and then she says it, and then they have to translate it through. So that adds an impact to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where it says, "Lo, there do I see my father."
Mm-hmm.
Then they lay her down, or then they put her back up. "Lo, there do I see my mother." And as they keep, and the fact that it's in another language and then translated, it's almost like you're hearing it in the original language. So it makes it, to me, it was more impactful. Like when you really feel that, and then later on in the movie when it happens again, now you've got the context for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love this part with the boy too.
Yeah, it starts to set up the mystique that the movie is trying to keep till the very end, with the mist and the culture that they have, the Northmen.
And that by the way, the thing about when he comments that you see him looking at them when they do some barbaric sort of like table manners, that's something Fadlan actually comments on in his writing. He's like, these are pretty primitive people, pretty barbaric people. Except he's the one who says, except they're exceptionally tall and athletic, like ridiculous. Even the women are ridiculously tall and athletic. You know.
Yeah. He did in his writings. He talk about how so it's nasty how they use that bowl of water and everybody like spits in it and drinks out of it and washes themselves with it. But he also makes a point to point out that they groomed their hair all the time. They were combing their hair. They cared about their appearance, and they were never like covered in mud and crap. They always washed themselves.
Yeah.
Every morning.
So it was a different way. That's how it was.
Yeah, it was super nasty. I would have been like, oh, thank you. Just go get another bucket of water, man.
I like that they're like, they don't know if the boy's real or not. They're waiting to see if he's real.
Well, yeah, talking about that scene specifically, I like the film is basically like it's a historical fiction, but they do try and be really accurate. But at the same time, they're introducing like a little bit of fantastical elements, like this this boy who he has to just stand there for a long time so people know he's real. It's like, okay, that's probably not authentic, but it works for the story. So it's like, because it's part of the Beowulf thing they're doing.
I won't go into ultra detail on it because but if you want a primer on it, this is Daniel McCoy wrote this book that's 7-8 years ago called The Viking Spirit, which is a collection of like the Viking culture of the time and their myths and all that. The Vikings had one of their subsets of beings they believed in were spirits that were tied to the land, which could appear as human and whatnot. So that's at least I got that was the kind of reference he was going for there.
Well, that makes it even cooler that they're they're finding real customs in Viking history and bending them to the whims of the Beowulf story.
And they're still trying to keep it realistic enough so that
it's
it
very,
doesn't
very
seem
clever,
incredibly fantastical. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Here's the other aspect of a child being sent to ask for help. It would to me it immediately showed how bad the situation was in the North if they sent a child to ask for help. I mean, obviously he's got like royal bloodline or something, which is why they sent him.
He's the son of the king, I think.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
and two, another thing that the enemy is like not named. They're like, no, we can't say that name, which adds more weight to what's going on.
He tells them it's an ancient enemy.
Yes,
that they've been fighting a long time.
Yeah, the hint that like, oh yeah, we haven't seen any of those, and they can't have come back. We haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah.
So then they call for the
old lady,
the oracle. They call her the Angel of Death, and then she's wearing. And I've read about the oracles that they had, and the ones that the Vikings would use in real life had mittens and sometimes a complete cloak made out of cat fur. Why? I don't know, but that was kind of their thing. And then they throw yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of things in different cultures. For instance, the Egyptians, it was the cat was something to the afterlife or something.
A couple of their goddesses were tied to cats.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the one cat goddess? I can't remember her name.
Anubis?
No, he's a dog god.
It's Bast.
Bast,
is
yeah.
the cat.
Bastet, a couple different versions of that, yeah.
Yeah. So she comes in and she throws down the oracle bones and she says, "We must send the oracle. The bones say we must send the number of warriors equal to the months in our year, which is 13." And so then she holds up the thing and he says, "I will be the first among them." Now he says it in, I think they're speaking, I don't think it's Old Norse, it's something else. But
they would. We don't technically know Old Norse. I don't think they ever figured it out. They might be speaking that. Well, yeah. There's a double translation in the context. Like the one guy who we see with Banderas all the time, he's speaking Latin. He knows Latin, so he's telling Omar Sharif's character Mekanzar like Latin, and then Omar Sharif's translating from Latin to whatever Arabic version they're speaking.
But my point is whatever language they're using is like a Norse language, which is some parts of English are based off of. So you can understand what Bolvai is saying.
Yeah, you get some of the numbers.
You get some of the numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, old English.
Yeah, is what he says, right? Which is first. I'll be the first one or number one.
Yeah.
And it goes through, and then as the tempo builds, as she says, the next one, and then I'll be the second one, and there's music, and it swells, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie because they're picking people to go on like a quest, and people are in public saying, "I'm going to go," and so you have somebody comes and asks for help, and then you have people that say that they will go help, and then it's like public how
they're happy to do it too,
right? They're happy to do it, and it builds up in tempo, and you're getting introduced to the heroes that are going to be on this journey, and for some of them, honestly, this might be the only time you really see them.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. So it to me, it's a very powerful scene. Even when I saw it in the theater, I was getting like pumped up.
And all they're doing is counting.
Right. All they're doing is counting, but they're committing to a quest, a commitment, a journey.
It's the Rivendell scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. To being heroic.
And it's the way that they do it.
You have my axe and my axe.
Yeah.
And my axe and my axe.
And my beard. No.
And my hatchet.
But it's the way that they do it, because you have some of them just looking around and they're like, you know what, I'll go, with that type of energy. So everyone's smiling and it's just a good time until boom.
And everybody's volunteering, and then the 13th guy's like, "Yep, you're the 13th guy. You're going."
It's like the 13th man must be
everybody looks at him like,
and the music stops and it gets quiet. And only she talks, and then everyone's looking around, and they look at him, and he's like, they look at Ibn Falad, and he's like, "Wait, what's going on?" And that's when he tells them, the 13th warrior can be no Northman, so he must go. I guess there was no option for him to say no.
But, I mean, he could have sent Omar Sharif's character.
No.
You go.
Well, wait, Northman. There's some Northman.
You're not a Northman, are you?
But that also. It makes so it's an ensemble cast, but it obviously points out that Ibn Falad is the main character.
Yeah, but and it's funny because this could have actually been a big backfire, because when you have your character basically being pulled into the plot without having your protagonist have that choice, you can make that protagonist, just by not really knowing that, you can make them a passive character, which is a big detriment to a lot of things. For example, we were talking about Star Wars backstage, and if you look at Rogue One, you have the protagonist is a passive character for basically the entire first act, which is the weakest part of the film.
Right.
But here, I think that they managed to make it work, because you see that even though he's pulled into this adventure, he's not very reluctant to go. He's still there. He's like, okay, you know what, we're still going, and he still goes. He doesn't really fight back to it.
Right. And because I think part of him
he's also curious, right?
He's right. I was going to say he's curious, but it also shows that he has honor, and that's the whole point of him being the emissary, ambassador, whatever. He's going to get to go to their homeland. Also, I like here where look at how the cultures are meeting. They're living in basically Bedouin type tents, but so it's that mix of cultures, because you got all the women here are obviously not women from their homeland.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, they don't look
Do
like
y'all
captives
recognize
or anything.
Anybody in this clip here?
Well, the dude in the back right hand.
This dude.
Yeah, he's I can't remember. My brain is locking. We've seen him in a lot of other stuff.
Conan. He was in Conan.
Yep.
the Barbarian, and
was
Hunt for
he?
Red October.
He was one of the guys that with Thulsa Doom. He was like Hammer Dude or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been in other stuff besides that. Like we've seen him in a lot of these sort of movies.
Yeah.
And the dude in the robe. Go back one scene. Like if I mean the dude in the robe looks like Clancy Brown. It's not, but it looks like Clancy Brown.
Also, they show they're riding these big Shire workhorses. The Vikings did not have big horses like that. Their horses were small.
Yeah.
Like not made for cavalry or anything. They were just for like riding around.
Mm.
But of course, they got to look heroic, so they're going to ride these big horses.
Yeah. And this guy's got a mullet.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're Barmy. He broke the pillar in the orgy scene with his hammer, and it fell on the other guy.
He raised the snake that Conan killed early in the film on his own from a little snakeling. Remember Thulsa Doom's line? He upset him so much he raised that snakeling.
And here he's making fun of his horse, which is an Arabian. He's calling it a dog because it's too small. When in reality, Arabians are some of the best horses.
Yeah. Most expensive too.
Yeah.
Especially white Arabian horses. Most expensive.
These Vikings are riding around on Clydesdales.
Yeah.
You gotta remember they're tall people. They're big. Like even the short ones. I mean, obviously in real life, the actors aren't that big, but they made them look big. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. It gives him an excuse though to because Antonio Banderas is kind of the fish out of water the whole time, so it gives him an excuse to clash a little bit and then grow later in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Zach, it's not about the size; it's how you use it.
Yes.
It's also convenient to have that character trope in a movie so that you can, explain stuff to the audience as you're explaining stuff to the character.
Yep.
And also, the guy back here, I can't think of his name. He's the one that was basically translating for him.
Right.
Yeah, he's rolling 3 deep coming out of his tent. So,
Harger Joyous, I think is his name.
Well, the problem is with all of the warriors, you get confused with them because after a while, since they don't have a proper lingering introduction for each and every one of them, that's basically my main issue with the film is that you only have about the 5 that survive that you were following the entire movie basically.
You get the most from this guy on screen right now, and then the redhead is also a lot of fun.
Yep, well, that's a recognizable actor
whose name I don't know because
this guy, the redheaded dude in the green here with the tattoo on his face, wasn't he in? He was like in Braveheart and a couple of other different ones, I think.
Probably. I need to watch Braveheart again. It's been a long time.
I love the different.
Bullywear, I can't pronounce his name, but it's something like Vladimir something or other.
Vladimir Kulich.
Yeah, he plays like Vikings in a lot of stuff. There's a movie called Ironclad where he plays Tiberius. He's like the number 2. If you also go watch Ironclad. That's all I'm going to say. But he plays these very.
I thought that he was the actor from I forgot if it's Ghostbusters 2. I think I thought that he was the dude that plays the portrait that's alive. I forget his name.
Oh, he does look like the same guy.
Yeah, he looks very similar.
No, he was never in Ghostbusters 2.
I'll look it up.
I love how they different pieces of armor from different cultures, which is possible because they went to all these
around
places.
a lot.
And also, there was around this time period there was the people from the Russ side and from the Swedish Vikings, well, all of them really, they would go down to Constantinople and they would be part of the bodyguard for the emperor, and called the Varangian Guard. And then when they were done, sometimes they would leave and then take all their stuff back home. So they would be mercenaries basically, and so they would have all this mismatched armor, which is why that one dude has like that Spanish looking breastplate, but he also has like a gladiator, like Roman gladiator helmet with like the front of it swings open.
Yeah.
Of course, by this point, that armor would be almost 1,000 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bad guy in Ghostbusters was Vigo the Carpathian, who's played by Wilhelm von Homburg, or also known as Norton Group. But he does totally look like the
he looks a lot like him.
He was a boxer.
Oh,
I had no idea.
So I like the quote that they give, like just before they leave for Ahmed. He's like, "Go with God." It's like, then he looks at the sky. He's like, "You listening?"
Yeah, it's like I hope he's coming.
I did like that, and of course they had to, otherwise the movie would have been in big trouble. But I do like that they respected his Islamic faith and had him, whenever he invoked the prophet, he did it correctly. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Except once he refers to God as Father, and Muslims don't do that.
But yeah, for this scene it's really good with the scene where he learns the language, because I think that when it's from a writing perspective, from a screenwriting perspective, it's incredibly well done, because it does a lot of things. It shows the passage of time. It develops Ahmed's character, and by showing his intelligence, his attentiveness, and also his dedication. And it's a smart way to have the film language go to English for the audience that's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think they could have drawn this out a little more over like different scenes and introduced the characters at the same time.
True.
Yeah, this is why I wish if they ever redid this, it would be as a miniseries.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that could work.
Yeah, I just want it to be longer for sure. This scene specifically could have been over the course of several scenes. I like how they do it in this, how it's just one shot, one scene, but they could have spread it out like montage wise. And I think the other scene that they could have had not more time, but have come back more often is later on when the one Viking asks to learn to read and write.
Yeah,
like it's pretty much just he asks, he says something, and then he comes back at the end of the film. And
it's Bullseye.
It would have been cool to see that, just little bits of that throughout the film instead of just coming back once.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and I guess the running theme for a lot of this is that it's serviceable, but it could have been better with longer shots and
just it needed to be longer. It needed you could easily add 20 minutes to this movie just to flesh out some things more and to give you something more complete. But with the hour 47 that they do, I think that they do a pretty solid job. Yeah, they do a solid job. Right. But that they could have done better considering the amount of warriors they had and the amount of material they could have worked with.
It's very telling, when our only complaint about the movie is that we wanted more of it.
Yep.
Right. And that's a juxtaposition for modern today movies.
Cut them down. Cut it down. Why is it so long?
And I love the way he shows them. He translated it. Like he's like, hey, I know who my mother. She was blah blah blah, and at least I know who my father is. Like,
great.
Right back.
It's like once he says the first word, they all just look at him. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
you can easily understand as the
eating
viewer.
son of.
I didn't looking at this still. I didn't remember that there was a little kid with him.
He's the son of the.
It's the kid. It's the kid that's got him.
Okay. All right. He just looks a little different, I guess.
It's probably a different actor.
Yeah. Like we need another blonde Scandinavian kid.
Like, it doesn't really matter. They probably got him for a day and then realized, oh yeah, we need him in a scene. Let's just get this other kid. He's also blonde.
And for me, I really enjoyed the cinematography in the film, but I feel like the lighting was a bit lacking, considering that there are a lot of scenes in the dark, and I feel like this is the best lit scene during nighttime as compared to the rest of the movie, where you're just like, what the hell is going on?
Absolutely.
Well, that was McTiernan wasting so much money on whatever he wasted it on.
Yeah.
So he used doctors to cover the fact that he wasn't doing as much work on the background as he should have done.
Yeah, the first it's like 85 million was the amount of money he had to work with. It wound up being 160 million.
A lot of cocaine. A lot of cocaine.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do we know why? Do we know why he was fired?
Right.
I guess that's it.
Did he spend it all on that log house thing?
I don't know.
That's a really
big
good set, though.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
It does.
The rumor back then was he spent it all on cocaine. I'm not joking.
And I got some really big Lord of the Rings vibes when they're in the two towers when they ride into what is it? Where Theoden lives and
Oh yeah,
kind of a rundown.
Oh,
people
Edoras.
Rohan.
Yeah,
It's Edoras. Yeah.
Edoras, yeah.
It's in Rohan. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, this is where he finally shows off the horse, and that it just bounces back on the playfield bouncer to say, "Yeah, now I've earned my place among you."
Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially that the one guy, he's wearing like full chainmail. He's got the darker beard and the longer hair. I always equated him like a ranger for some reason, like from D&D or whatever. Because he's always got a bow and whatever. But he's really quiet normally and very thoughtful. And if you impress that guy, that's the guy to impress, really.
And these two guys here, are the least shown, and they're like they're the first two to die.
Yeah, that's why they didn't show them.
Yeah.
But this is a great scene, and it goes back to what we were saying. Like they're always super happy, and one of the comments was saying,
"What's up, Steven?"
That was very stereotypical with like Vikings. Like even in battle, they'd be making jokes, and I love the line in the scene where they're like, shouldn't we be closer to land? And he's like, why? We'd miss out on this.
Also,
And
okay, you're insane. Got it. Okay.
that the Vikings believed that their fate was predetermined. So
right. Like if we die, okay,
exactly.
Why does it matter?
So might as well just do whatever.
We might as well just do the stupidest crap.
I mean,
ever.
just look at this shot, man. You know, the one before where they're just hanging on the boats, like they just look so cool, man. They're all like throughout the entire movie, you're just thinking these guys are absolute badasses.
You hear the Led Zeppelin music playing here.
My one little technical complaint is there's no way 13 horses fit on that boat.
No.
Yeah.
It's the same place that Galadriel will put him in Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I thought she stored them in her magic vagina.
Do they show the horses later in the movie though?
Yeah, they show them getting off the boat.
Okay.
Off the boat when they ride to the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Because I'm like, once they get there, I don't remember them using horses at all. So.
Yeah, I love this shot.
Oh, it's great. The best part of this entire scene is the sound design. Everything is so silent. There's no score at all. And you can just hear the boat creaking. And it's incredible. The water is still, the boat is creaking. And all you hear are like nature sounds. And you just hear him screaming, Odin!
Well, yeah. And then you do get like an echo coming back, like, which is why he was shouting to like see if his voice would bounce off of land.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And they're also shooting the arrows, and you can hear the arrow hit the water.
Yep.
And
first time.
It's beautiful.
Wood.
I do know that they could navigate and do a lot of things, and you could tell if you were near land if birds were there, flying around and stuff. But so to go back to why it's so cool that they're out in the open like that is because they're one of the few cultures at the time that could do open ocean sailing and not be afraid to do it. Most people stayed within sight of the shore. And just that whole feeling of adventures, I think even after 1,000 years, why most people still revere what the Viking culture did, even though if you think about if you really boil it down, they did some horrendous stuff.
Yeah, they weren't the best. They weren't the greatest guys.
They're basically the pirates of the North. They're basically
all of our ancestors sucked. We unilaterally accept that all of our ancestors sucked.
Yeah. They were at least they were cool.
Right, exactly, and
right.
it's that kind of sense of adventure.
It's like smoking. We know it's bad, but it looks cool. Okay.
Yeah, here are all the horses they magically had in their bag of holding or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's when they arrive on the shore with Vladimir's character. You can also see the intelligence of him too with what we said before about the language and how fast he picked it up.
Yeah.
Showing that they're not just simpleton. I mean,
they're not just brutes.
The navigation. I mean, that shows how smart they were in this movie. I like this part. He throws him that big sword. He's like, I can't swing this. Grow stronger.
Yep, exactly. That's that kind of like very blunt mentality that a lot of warrior cultures had.
And that's why they stayed alive so long. That's why they reigned.
Yeah. And I like they smell perfume in the air. It's like,
is it the king's son that they meet?
No,
it's a messenger. It's just a messenger, and he's riding like a little horse, and that is like the real kind of horses they would have had.
Right.
Well, actually, that's even too big for what he. I'm thinking of Vikings, the TV show. They had a guy on a horse in that one. That was a messenger. He was a little bald dude. That was kind of a suck up in the first season. Yeah, that dude was riding a real like Viking horse.
Yeah, I forget what they're called, but
there you have them in Iceland. They're called Icelandic horses now.
Icelandic horses.
Yeah, that's when he says that the king would have come and welcomed you himself, but he can't because he's basically dying. I guess the king is sick.
He's old.
Okay, freeze right there. That dude's armor looks like the Kurgan. Look at in the front.
Where is this one?
The front guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't help it. I see the Kurgan everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, he would have definitely fit in here.
And you see how the guys who don't speak are wearing the helms?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
The other thing is Bolvai's armor would have been ridiculously expensive.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least you can tell where all the budget went for the movie.
It's Edoras right there.
Hey, if it gives us movies like this, maybe Hollywood should bring cocaine back.
Maybe.
Yeah. And here's the problem that I have with a lot of the Lord of the Rings cities and this one. Obviously, you can't really afford to put it in there. There's no fields around it.
Yeah.
Nobody's growing any food.
Yeah.
Like Edoras should have had fields around it, and Minas Tirith should have had giant fields around it.
I mean, this one they do show people out picking something, like they're harvesting.
There's also like no CGI in this movie. It's all just in camera stuff.
Well, and practical. Yeah.
Scandinavian, like where they live structurally, is not prone to having large open fields. Even their homesteads, their farms are all on hills and like that, So we'll see the scene later where the kid's running from the homestead. Like the towns were places you forted up, but then you had to spread out to your little homesteads on your little hill or in your little valley to try to grow something or raise some sheep or whatever. That guy right there in the background is Tony Curran. He's been in Doctor Who. He's been in a lot of stuff. The red-haired guy.
Yeah, that's actually the guy that I recognized the most after Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how they say too that they don't see a man between the ages of 50 and 15.
Yeah.
So they've like killed fighting.
So they can assess the situation and know how bad it is.
Well,
yeah.
This is immediately sets the tone.
Yeah, exactly. You know that it's going to be overwhelming odds that our heroes have to fight against, which is always good to put you on the hero side. You're always rooting for the little guy.
The underdog.
Yep. But I think that the cinematography here is actually pretty well. In addition to the sets themselves, I think that the set is great. The set design the production is incredible.
Yeah, and this was filmed in British Columbia too.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely gray enough.
Yeah,
definitely up there.
Yeah.
I was a little like, they got a giant hole in your roof, bro. Let water rush in here. But I suppose that might have been how it really been. Just the damp when it snowed, man.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a horrible place to be.
Man, it must have been cold as hell.
It's a little off. There should be a giant pole in the center of their building.
Yeah. In real life, their long buildings, like the longhouses, didn't have windows that many. It was usually dark inside.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you really hard to shoot a film that way.
This is cool. You get a good shot of all 13.
Yeah.
The Fellowship.
Yes, the Fellowship.
He was very Thor-like there.
Yeah. See, there were 14. There's a dog. Come on.
That's their version of Old Bill.
Yeah.
And hell, the Hobbit could have rode that dog.
Yeah.
You do really get Theoden vibes, though.
Yo, 100%.
With the set and the... I mean, they even have the line, like, his son is poisoning his ear. I thought that the son would come back into play a little bit.
I thought that a lot of things would come back into play. They just introduce stuff and then they leave it.
Yeah.
So you've got the son, you've got the fact that he was banished. Maybe with them giving that, with the saying that Ahmed was banished, you would have thought, oh, maybe he wants to come back and redeem himself. But nope, the movie just says, no, we don't have time for that.
And he's like, what plagues this place?
He calls him old man. What plagues this place, old man?
How do you guys feel about Antonio Banderas pulling off an Arab?
I think he did a good job.
I think it works, mainly because at this time, more than half of Spain was Islamic.
Yeah.
For the most part, his accent is really good. And then occasionally you'll get a scene where you're like, okay, that's just Spanish.
He's Spanish as in a Spaniard, so he's culturally close,
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why I don't think a lot of people had a problem with him playing that role. Nowadays, you would have had to be Arab for sure.
No one cared back then about that.
I wasn't suggesting
that's one of the
that it was problematic.
I
was saying that performance-wise,
I read new reviews on this movie, and that's what a lot of them said. Oh, they had a Spanish guy playing a Muslim. That was one of their big complaints about it.
Were there any
popular
Muslim
was Lawrence Fishburne a Moor in Othello? No, he's called an actor.
I don't really recall. I know there are a lot out now, but back then, I don't think it was. Other than like Omar Sharif, or somebody like that. But the main reason I didn't really have a problem with him is because I knew history. That, Spain was Islamic. It had its own caliphate and everything.
Yep. It's the Mediterranean. My Sicilian ancestors. That's where I got my Arabic blood from.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like me playing a Irish man in a movie. I've got a little bit of Irish in me, but I've also got English and Scottish and French.
Every review that I read about this talked about how positive, that it was a positive movie that showed an Arab in a positive light instead of they're a terrorist or an evil villain or whatever. He's
that is true.
And he's cultured. He's not stupid, or he's a fish out of water, but that would be expected. And he adapts. So
one of the best scenes is later on with the alcohol. He's like, no, I can't do it. He's like, it's made out of honey, you idiot, drink it.
No, I'm not playing devil's advocate here or anything, but The Scandinavian people have a legit gripe in that they were very forcibly converted to other religions than their own. You know, so it's not exactly peaceful that there are Christians and Muslims in that area.
And there you go, all the horses that were hidden in the boat.
Yep.
Maybe they were compressible, like you would deflate them and then blow them back up. You know,
well, it's like the TARDIS. You know, it's bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this is when they're going to the farm, I guess, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they heard the kid running from the homestead or something like that. I don't know the whole sequence right now.
But yeah, you've got the kid that was running towards them, and then I actually thought that was intriguing because at the beginning of the movie you could say, okay, it's pretty cool. I don't really know what we're doing per se, but then once they land and the kid starts to arrive, that's where the movie picks up a lot, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a real mystery to it. You're like, who are these people? What are they going to fight? And then you start seeing, you know, and the tension builds and the tension builds.
You have the tension that's constantly building, and also the fact that they're portraying the antagonist, basically the Wendels. They're basically portraying them as people that are not men, and to the point where you know that these Northmen are very strong. You know what they're capable of, but they themselves fear the Wendels. So you're thinking, what the hell could they be? So you're in Antonio Banderas' character's frame of mind.
Yeah.
And that's
they're treating them like they're a spirit or something.
Yes, right. Like they're supernatural. And the thing is with these 13, well, at least the 12 Norse warriors, is that you get the immediate, they project competence, strength, courage. So at no point do you think, oh, these guys are bumbling around, they don't know what they're doing, and you know, they're getting circles around them.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this sequence alone. The way that they go and infiltrate the farm, you're just sitting there like, oh man, this is basically an elite squad from the 21st century.
Yeah, it's very professionally done. You're like, these guys are killers. And then, I mean, it was also smart to just show like the aftermath of what's been happening before you're introduced to the monster. So it's just it's a really good slow build. And I love Antonio Banderas' line where he's like, it's not just that they were dismembered, like these have been gnawed on. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's very interesting, especially, you know, just the way that they constantly build the mystery and saying like, oh, and then after that, since you have Antonio Banderas' Ahmed's perspective, and you know he's there at first, he's saying, oh, they might be human, you know, these guys are just probably exaggerating, and then once he sees that the people were not on, they're like, oh no, these guys cannot be human.
And the other interesting thing is they find the necklace that is the Vendel's deity, the goddess, and interestingly, it's called the mother, but the statue is actually very old.
Way older.
Statues like that are like 50, 60,000 years old. Yep. They call it like the Venus of wherever cave they found it in.
Fertility,
and it's a fertility goddess, right? And it basically just looks like, you know, a woman with thick thighs. But you know.
Yeah, and I love how it shows the wind in the background here.
Yes.
Just in the shadows. It's so good.
And plus they make sure to distinguish that it has a very weird shape too. So you're there like, what's going on? And in addition to that, you also have the footprint that they find. It doesn't look like a human footprint. It looks like an animal. It just reinforces that mystery that they're trying to sell to the audience.
Yeah.
Right. At this point, I when I first saw the movie, I was like, man, what are they, like werewolves or something?
Same. I thought they was going to go full fantasy.
I was trying to get a shot of it, but
and they
easily could have gone full fantasy. I mean, they're adapting Beowulf, but it's not. It's It's surprisingly grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they refuse to touch the little totem thing, at all. But Ahmed is not, so he's more interested in it than they are because he doesn't have the same cultural
perspective.
Kind of fears. Yeah, see, here it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a thick woman. But yeah, it's great to see the way that he just picks it up and sees it, and then after that you have all of the you have the Wendell that's just leaving. So then you're like, okay, we have to go back, and then that's when I think this is when you get the info that they come
watched.
they're being watched. They come with the mist, you know.
Well, and the audience had already known that. They saw the Wendell. You know, you get glimpses of the guy watching them when they're in the hut. And then this is, when the characters find out.
Yeah,
they have the.
The only thing that shows that they're there is deer running out of the woods.
Yeah. And they have that score that goes with it, like when the when they show up, it's got like that kind of horn sound to it, so you know that they're around. It's very ominous.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how he calls Ahmed little brother.
Yeah.
Says, put your hand down, little brother. It's like, when are they gonna attack? Then this is when you actually start seeing fear in Ahmed's eyes, because he is fearful now in comparison to the rest of the Northmen, who don't see fear as something that they should take into account.
Yeah, we talked about this, Copa, about how Omar Sharif never wanted to act again. I think he was amazing in this movie and elevated it. The fact that he was in it. I don't think he didn't do anything again until Hidalgo, right? Which was another movie that I liked.
I mean, the 13th Warrior wasn't the only bomb of 1999 when it came to historical epics. You also had The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc by Luc Besson with I forget her name, Mila Jovovich. She played Joan of Arc. That was also a big flop at the time. Same year.
That was one of his 7 films he made with her.
Yep.
I'm going to make movies about my girlfriend. Not that I'm complaining because Mila Jovovich is a goddess, but
Yeah, she looks good. All the Resident Evil movies.
I love this. This is like a close up of their face, and you can see a horn, but you can see their eyes.
I was actually distracted at first. I didn't know what I was looking at. All I knew is that this looked like some type of animal. So I think that the message that the director was trying to do really came through.
Also, if you look at the closeness of their face, it has like a scrunched, almost like primitive kind of look to it. You know what I mean? Like it's not a fully developed modern human. Right?
Yeah.
You're looking like a creature from The Descent, you know,
or like a Neanderthal or something.
Yeah.
You know,
that was my thought. What
I
the
love
movie was
this.
going for? There were Neanderthals, the leftover Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the.
I thought that's what they were in the book, though. I can't remember, but I thought that's what they were in the book. I don't know. I like this part. This guy's like, you have to be really brave to face the Vin, and he's like, well, you have you don't have any exploits to tell about it except killing your own brothers.
Yep. And it's funny he says that, considering that in the beginning of the movie he killed his brother.
Yeah.
But he's also done other things that were impressive, so he can say it.
There you go, Stephen. That's Stephen Ransom. That's kind of inbred. That's more like it.
Yeah, Bolivar has a reputation. Like he's not just like a dude from down south, so to speak.
Yeah, I wish they would have done something interesting with the sun.
Yeah. It's blinking.
Yeah.
Like maybe had some kind of moment in the chaos where he tries to kill his father.
Well, do we ever see the sun again properly?
No, like never.
No,
we see him like standing next to his dad in a later scene, and that's it.
And we see him at that duel, and that's the last we see him.
Yeah, like we never see him actually fight any of the Wendells during the big battles.
Right? Yeah, I totally forgot. The duel was to like sedate. That never goes anywhere either. What was the point of the duel?
Yeah, we have to send a message because they think that they're gonna kill the
movie needed more time.
Yeah, it needed
Yeah,
much more time,
it
or
did.
at least you could cut out all of these things if you know that eventually.
And you know what?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. The son might have been a McTiernan, part of the story, and it just got cut.
it might have, but that's what I mean. Like overall, if you know that this will be the finished product, for example, you review this finished product and you know that plot line is gonna go nowhere, then just cut it out and I don't know, have them just cut directly to the fight. You know what I mean? When
anytime
they're fighting the redhead.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 times when you fire the original director, the movie's dead on arrival, even if they finish it.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you're going to get a pitch black where the new director comes in and makes a working genius out of it. So
Yep.
If we go back, there's that old guy with the eye patch. He's the last survivor of a settlement up north, and they're like, "What happened?" And they're like, "They called the fire worm," and a worm spelled with the WYRM is not like a worm. It's more like a dragon,
a werven,
right? That may or may not have wings, but it's basically a dragon. It's a worm is a dragon. I think it comes from Old English, but anyways, so he's saying that they called the fire worm on him, and it came and it burned down their village and killed everybody.
Yeah.
So, and then now they're moving into the area. So then they said, all right, they're going to probably come tonight because they always come when it's foggy and it looks like there's going to be fog. So they're going to sleep in this circle to await them to come.
Yep. And it's funny because you have Ahmed asking them like, how can you sleep in this situation? And then eventually you find out that basically none of them are sleeping, actually.
Yeah, I love you think everybody's snoring. And it's like, no, that's not them snoring. It's the monsters.
Well, I think they're lightly dozing. That's like a soldier thing. Something my grandfather explained to me. You don't really sleep per se when you're in the middle of that shit.
Yeah, it's basically light sleeping. You're aware of what's going on. You're on rest mode.
Yeah,
right. I can tell you from experience that there's a way to sleep, and then certain sounds will wake you right up, like the phone or certain things like that, to where the people were always. They couldn't like when we were at work taking naps, like if you heard somebody on the stairs, that would wake you up, or the phone, but any other sound going off wouldn't wake you up. So it was weird, but you can kind of train yourself to do that.
My grandpa said he could sleep through days of artillery hitting the bunker, but this World War II. But the slightest sound of a non-American gun thing would wake him and his guys right up.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And also the sound design
noise.
Here. Yep.
Yeah.
You just have the sound design here again. Everything is silent, and you just have the sound design basically making the entire scene, just having them creepily come up, and then everything is going to be up, and then you see the fear on Ahmed's face, and he's just like, you're becoming a warrior today. Then boom, give him the sword.
Yeah.
Just do it, man. We have to fight. Everyone will be in a circle when they attack. It's a great scene, especially when you realize that he sees everyone, has an eye open, and is just observing everything.
And that scene with that guy's head getting pulled off is
it's like, oh. And this one too, you see the
really
foot
well
getting
done,
cut off.
Yep.
But I love how he gets scratched by one of them, and he stabs it, and the guy just grabs him and throws him across the ring.
Then this is where they lose, I think, 2 guys, if I'm not mistaken.
2 of them.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even realize which ones were dead, to be honest.
Yeah.
2 helm guys, basically.
It's like, and we learn something about them. They take heads,
and they recover their dead.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't tell if you've killed any of them or you did anything to them at all, because there's nobody. But
very spooky.
They do bleed, and I want to say Bullseye says, or somebody, if they bleed, they can die.
He says their blood looks real enough, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know if we did anything. He's like, and he just pulls up his sword. He's like, well, looks like we did something.
Not kind of gross about it, but if they're a cannibalistic culture, their own dead make pretty good meat too. So
yeah, yeah. Too, it's demoralizing too. You think you've killed some people, and they're gone. They just
exactly.
Hey man, we returned from battle, raw bear talk, and where's Olaf? Olaf is for dinner tonight.
And it also adds to the mystery. You're like, oh man, I thought that these guys were humans, that we just saw our heroes, fighting them and actually slashing them, but then no bodies are left. What the hell is going on?
And there's that boy again. He just shows up intermittently through the movie.
Well, he might be acting as a page to Bullyware.
Yeah, he might. Yeah,
he might be. But it's weird, they don't really show any of it, so you're just there to assume.
Well, I'm just going from a cultural assumption, but the old king is too old to teach effect, so you just hang out with that guy, be his page, and Bully would say, "Okay, teach probably on the side, teaching the kids some warrior stuff,"
Then you have Ahmed being cleaned up by the redhead woman. Yeah. I forget her name. I don't know if I wrote it down, but yeah, it's like a sort of relationship that they try and develop for the film. I wouldn't really say it's a relationship because I don't know. It feels like she's like in desperate times of need, especially for someone who isn't basically accustomed to death the same way that the other Northmen are, the warriors are. It's good to have someone that you can count on, basically. That type of relationship.
Yeah.
It's more comfort than love.
Yeah. And I like this. He's like, what is that? It smells. And she's like, it's boiled down cow urine. It's like, okay.
And he says, don't put that filth on me, because being from Baghdad, he knows about medicine on a different level than they do. But also they have tried and tested remedies and herbs and things like that are just different.
Yep.
Fiona, I don't think she's a shield maiden. She never really fights. She never is in armor or anything. I think she's just the female head of the household, right? So she's responsible for everything within the house, which includes the care of, so she's like not really a princess, but kind of like one. And, but she's in charge of everything. And if you'll notice in this movie that all of the mystical stuff comes from women, all of like what to do, future telling, all those kinds of things, the like nurturing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they do have a place there, and it's sitting around in the background doing nothing. If this movie were made today, yes, half of the 13 would be women or something.
They'd be girl bosses. The 13 would probably arrive, and then the woman would basically just take over and kill all the Wendells single-handedly.
She might have been a widow, but I just
she
got
probably is, given that there are no men from 13 to 50 alive in the town.
Yeah,
they're probably all dead.
But I got the feeling that she had some connection to the leader, the old guy.
Well, there were two girls that kind of looked the same.
The one that said that she'd put on her armor, and then this one.
Yeah.
And the Scandinavian culture, like the women had to fight. It was a survivor die type of culture.
Well, you'll notice at the end battle that the entire village is up there fighting. They're shooting arrows, throwing stuff at them, and whatever.
Then this is when you've got Ahmed swinging his sword for the first time, trying to become a proper warrior after what he'd experienced the first day. And I like this sequence. It's pretty fun. And even the way they shoot it is nice, because after he says, is there a forger? I think that's what he asked for.
Later, Roman.
Hi, Roman.
Yeah. And he's like, where's the blacksmith?
Yeah, blacksmith.
Yeah, I think he's a metal worker.
See, I would think this guy would be a metal worker.
Same.
You know?
Then a bit, that's
I would think he'd be in more of the movie with his shirt off, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
that sword should not weigh that much either, by the way. So
No,
that's a
it's
bit of a
definitely scaled up for this movie, the swords.
Yeah, that's kind of a trope. I mean, that thing should weigh no more than 4 pounds.
Is someone on your end alarming, or is that me?
No.
It's not. It's coming from someone else.
That was that might have been you, Matt. Unless
No, because I took my heads off and it didn't.
okay,
It's not a fire
unless
alarm, but it
it's
wasn't.
uninspired reviewer.
No, not me.
That was me. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
The raccoons burning your place down.
They're trying to.
They have flamethrowers now. It's like, human, we are coming for you.
It's actually the Vin, they're dressed up like,
So he takes that sword that they gave him and
Raccoons.
basically just grinds it down.
Yep.
Into a scimitar.
Which I don't know if that would be that good for it.
It's
No.
it's a stretch.
It's a very big stretch, especially
you would have
with
to
this
do a
sword.
lot of reworking,
Yeah.
like in a
Yeah.
forge, but
you'd have to stick it in a fire and get it hot.
Because when he comes back with the final product, you're like, oh no, that doesn't look sharp at all.
no, it looks like a piece of plastic.
Yeah,
I do like-
there's no
I
way
do
he
like
could've
with the-
gr-
That can't possibly be the same sword. It has to be.
I like what that redhead guy says.
Yeah.
When you die, can I give that to my daughter?
He's like, you give an Arab a sword and he turns it into a knife.
It's good.
Mm,
The banter
but
is very good.
It's weird too, because they never really established that Ahmed can use a sword properly.
He's supposed to be a poet, right?
Yeah. So
I-
just
I
seeing
would've-
him transform the sword and then be able to move it like a proper swordsman, it's
I could
really
s-
weird.
Yeah, I could see that, he's noble and he trained with a sword just to,
And that's
have
just
that
another
knowledge
thing.
or whatever.
Not to be picky, but they would not be using their swords to sharpen those stakes.
No.
right.
They'd be
And
using axe or something.
I think, and this is what I thought at the time. Why didn't they just have him show up with a proper sword, like he carried it with him the whole time? One that was of Damascus steel and high quality, and that therefore he had it. Then you would assume that he knew how to use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly, and you wouldn't have to do all this like grind it down thing.
Mhm.
That was kind of weird to me.
At least they never really. I mean, they do show him fighting, but they never show him like, oh, I'm like the greatest warrior ever. He's never becomes like a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
But it is I mean, yeah. You
I
could
feel like,
you could just say, yeah, he's a nobleman, so he would have had like some kind of training, even if that's not what he focused on.
Well, also the guys they're fighting, he's not fighting other trained Vikings.
Yeah.
Like we see the Vikings fight each other and whatever. These guys are fighting their fighting skills are ride your horse in, use your spear, claw the guy. You know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
I mean, a sword's a very deadly weapon.
Right. It's also a status symbol, and it's something that I think he would have had if he came from some type of noble family. Also, keep in mind that back in those days, my history's not up to speed. Like if they had I know they had a professional army, but in a lot of cultures, if you were a landed gentleman in air quotes, you were expected to then serve in the military as a higher. You would have to have your own horse, your own suit of armor, your own weapons and training that therefore go with it, because you were expected to bear that burden because of your social standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in general, depending on the particular place, as in the field system, you owed your next lord up some degree of service, whether it was you plus a couple dudes, or you would send a bunch of dudes, or you would give money if you were really old or whatever,
Yeah. I wouldn't go back. I would stay here. with her.
She is good looking. I would too. And yeah, this is when they tell him that the brother is the king's son actually is basically poisoning his mind and thinking that Beowulf and his men are basically planning to overtake the throne after they get rid of the Wendels.
Right.
And that's when they're saying it to everyone. And I don't remember, is this the same shirt that he's wearing during the initial fight, which is why there's blood on it?
That's why he has blood on it, right? That's his shirt that he was wearing when he got clawed by the...
I think that's the blood from his face.
Yeah. It is. It's blood from his face.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then this is the let's make an example out of him.
Yep.
It's like the redhead dude.
Right. Because he's basically the muscle for the prince.
Yes.
These guys should have been in Barbie.
I mean, there is enough there with the son's character, like you get what's going on, but I just,
the point is he kind of disappears from the storyline. You never see him again.
Yeah, he literally just disappears.
This whole scene here is great. The dialogue back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Throwing mud on him.
You dig like a dog.
You called me a dog?
I did like that they've got everybody out here digging these defenses. So it's not like they're just sitting around.
Everyone pitches in.
Yep.
Yeah. It's set up, and it's something that you could actually miss if you're not paying attention properly.
Yeah.
Like my wife when she watches movies.
Then you've got the are you a dog? Are you calling me a dog? And then he's like, no, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
So I'm deaf now?
I'm deaf.
He's like, no,
he's doing
like an animal.
I'm
an animal now.
Yeah.
It was very well written. Yeah.
This is gaslighting at its finest. The origins.
Although your words are old and feeble, like an old woman.
Then this is where you get the height difference, like really big compared to him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll send you to the next world, old man.
So here at first, I didn't really understand what was going on, especially the way that it just hard cuts to this and Antonio Banderas' character walking up and just saying, I think it's like, oh, this is stupid or something like that. You shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, what's going on?
Cut.
Yeah. So weird. Then now they fight.
You get there eventually. Like, okay, but it was a jarring cut.
This dude was huge. I mean, the way that he was just swinging one time, exploding all the shields, and then you just see the 3 shields down, 1 shield more, then boom.
And also, so this is how they really did it. This was called the home gang, and then they would have a marked off area, and you would fight in there, and you could fix all kind of disputes this way, legally, by doing it. And you got so many shields. But what I like about this is it demonstrates the shield isn't like in some movies where people's shield will be impenetrable, but like block all kinds of stuff with it. This, it shows that, the shields are just wood with like leather and metal on it.
They can only take so much.
Right. They can only take so much before they break.
It's really well made too. I mean, you can still do this today, depending on in America. It depends on which state you're in, but you can settle dispute like this. It's called the mutual combat law.
Yeah,
I think in Washington you can have mutual combat and it's legal. It really blew my mind.
You can carry swords in Texas.
Well, what the mutual combat is you can get in a fist fight. So if both parties agree, then there's really no crime.
Yep, exactly.
I love this part too. It's like
chopping off heads is frowned upon in the United States, but you can get into a fist fight.
And it's really good the way that he does it, especially when he's on his when he's on the 3rd shield. You can really see him basically just be like, he's acting as if he's very, very tired. Then
the guy,
Yep. Once there's the go ahead to be able to kill someone, that's it. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Right, and he gave him a chance, but the prince was like, "Go ahead and kill him."
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "All right." So he cut. And I like what he says is, "We're gonna miss his sword tonight."
Yeah.
Like it was a waste to kill him to prove this point, because that dude is a big dude. Imagine how many of the enemy he could have taken out.
Well, but this is actually one of the best directed fights, basically, of the film, because
you can see what's going on.
Yeah, you can see what's going on. The first one, you were like, "Oh man, what is this?"
Yeah, the other fight scenes they're good, but they're kind of like metaphorical almost,
Right.
Mm.
And this is where
it's cutting between like the chaos and stuff, so you don't actually get to see like the tactics and combat and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is when he tells him, "You could have killed him at any time, couldn't you?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, pretty much."
But now he will fear what he doesn't know. Yeah. It is a good line.
Yeah, I like what he says. He's like, "You're right. Very foolish and costly. We will miss his sword tonight."
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's very practical.
This is a good movie.
Yep.
It is. It does a lot of things, but that's the problem. It does too much for its runtime, basically, as we said before.
So here he's bringing food to the I call him the ranger, who's supposed to be sitting in the watchtower, but he's not in the watchtower because that's where you expect him to be. So he's hiding in the tree so you can really see if somebody's like walking around down there.
Basically, a comedic moment. It's like a skit from Monty Python.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good comedy moments in the film too.
There are. And this is where he tosses in bread, I think.
It was something in a bag, or
it was
in
food.
a piece of cloth that was wrapped up.
Yeah, it was like bread and some vegetables.
Dude didn't even have time to eat properly.
Yeah, I noticed that every time I watch the movie, I'm like, he didn't have a chance to eat it.
Yeah,
I don't know why that bothers me.
They have something here, the thunder. So he thinks it's going to rain, but it's actually a cliff where the sea hits, and it sounds like thunder.
That's later on. That's when
it sets that up.
Yeah.
Here, yeah. He's like, "Oh, it's going to rain." He's like, "Nah, that's the thunder cliffs."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When the tide is just right, and the waves hit it, it sounds like thunder.
That dude.
Well, that's a good
reminded me of the like Scandinavian like hair gel model.
His hair does look fantastic for the conditions they're living in.
He got a Viking perm.
Yeah. What was the character? Remember Coming to America? The character with the afro hair.
Oh, the Soul Glow.
Soul Flow, whatever it was.
Soul Glow, yeah.
That's what it looks like.
And they hear the horn, and then I love this shot.
And here comes the fireworm.
The fire.
They've called the fireworm on us.
And it's great too the way that the way that the shot is composed. Even though you can tell that the clouds are a bit CGI, but it still looks good and keeps that intrigue that they set up all the way at the beginning.
Yeah,
I don't think that's CGI. I think that's matte paintings.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, whatever it is, it looks really good.
I'm just saying for the time period. I don't think CGI for this film. Although McTiernan might have had a $500 million budget.
I mean, 1999, they already had stuff like The Mummy out.
Yeah, they did. The Mummy, which is another great movie.
So I agree. I'm just saying, McTiernan spent $160 million, and that's not quite cutting it for Jurassic.
Which doesn't make any sense. What part of this is $160 million? It's just
especially for the time. Yeah,
that's an impressive budget for today.
Yeah,
not for a Marvel movie, but
there's no giant cities, nothing. Like, what did he spend?
In today's dollars, that's like $300 or $400 million.
Right. Yep. It doesn't make any sense at all. You could have made this on a TV budget.
I would understand if there were maybe, I don't know, like more warriors on screen or more big battles.
Right, or an actual like dragon flying around or something.
Yeah.
The cave sets at the end do look really cool, but
maybe he spent it all on bear costumes. It's like,
I don't know.
He's like, wait a minute.
And that's what I'm saying.
50 million on bear costumes.
And the cave
I
set,
wanted real
like they
bears.
just found some cave somewhere, like for real.
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, if you look at the number of extras in this film, I mean, there's a lot, but there's not as much as I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the 1970 movie Waterloo. It's basically
that had a whole like cowboy.
It had like the most amount of
crazy.
extras ever in like a war scene, and it's like that didn't cost as much either, even if you adjust for inflation.
The other thing to keep in mind is this is 2 years removed. This is 2 years before Lord of the Rings, and look how many soldiers they had there. Most of them were CGI.
Yeah.
So you're right. What did they spend?
I figured it out, guys. He had to spend $100 million on the insurance just to let Antonio Banderas go in those caves at the end.
Something's up.
But yeah, the fire.
Well, Copus says that McTiernan was not the most up and up guy. Well, he would have loved all this ESG money then.
Yep, would have been great for him. Then this is when they see the little kid. I think it's a girl.
Yeah,
they see running.
This scene in like every time I see it, I'm like, I used to play World of Warcraft a lot. They have these things called explosive sheep that you can plant all over the place.
Lawrence of Arabia,
Yeah, and then this is where the horse setup basically pays off about seeing what Ahmed's horse is capable of. So just jumping over the barrier.
Right.
Yeah, because isn't there a kid or something out there?
Yeah, there's a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like
why is she out there? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows what she was doing there, where she came from.
She was probably working in the fields where her parents were in their homestead and got killed. And she just
and when they said the fireworm was coming, everybody bounced and forgot her. That kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
Also, the fireworm turns out to be just a bunch of dudes on horses with torches.
Yep, the cavalry.
Again, you understand the amount of grazing space you would need to have for that many horses.
Yeah,
that is non-existent up there.
Yeah.
Well, they're cannibal horses. They eat people too.
Maybe. I don't know. But and guys that live in caves and stuff. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like,
stretch.
Yeah, the sheer number.
This is a nice shot.
The sheer number of enemy forces. For no one to have heard of them until now. It's a little silly, but hey, maybe.
Well, no, they've been eating all the other towns. Didn't you remember? All they had to disappear. So they swoop in and they spend go a day after day. They take out more and more. They harvest more and more food.
And they're like, "Well, boys, we're running out of food. Time to hit another village."
I mean, I went with it, but I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, "Okay, this doesn't make a lot of sense," but it was cool. And it shows how they get around and whatever. And then you see what the fireworm really is. It's a bunch of guys with torches.
Yeah.
But it's still scary as hell when it's coming for you.
Yeah, it's a cool interpretation.
I mean, if you count the number of torches there and you can kind of do it.
It's a lot of guys.
Yeah. That's as bad as many torches as Dothraki had when they died in Game of Thrones.
But they showed up in the next episode. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's like...
What do you mean? They didn't die?
At least that had dragons in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Real dragons.
I mean, they were dumber than cats, but at least they had them.
They're actually wyverns, but oh well.
Oh well. Then another night scene, another badly lit action.
Yeah.
Oh god. I don't know, like why didn't they take the? I know that it would probably be hard to, especially if they're doing it on location, to light up something so much. But the cinematographer could have probably, I don't know, tweaked something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also considering all the amount of smoke that they had.
If we gave McTiernan another $100 million, they would have let him burn out a forest.
Yeah, maybe they spent all their extra money darkening up the film.
It just drives me crazy when you hear a guy that gets $100 whatever $1 million a budget is, and he goes over not by like 10 million or whatever, but doubles it. He doubled. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it went
he
from
still
like
didn't finish the movie.
85 to 160, and it's like, come on, man.
And he
what
still
are we
couldn't
doing?
finish it. He wanted more.
Even delaying it a year, actually.
Yeah, I didn't know any of the behind the scenes stuff until.
Yeah.
I mean, they even changed the person who did the score midway through, because they were like, we don't like the first score, we don't like the first thing, then boom, everybody just switches everything.
So adjusted for inflation, 160 million in 1999 is worth 293 million today.
Damn, that's still a lot.
Yeah,
that's basically a Marvel budget.
Yeah, it's like 300 million. That's
no wonder this. Okay, so no wonder the movie bombed. It had to be the best movie of all time in order to make any kind of money off of, and it doesn't look. You know what I mean? So of course it was a bomb.
But also, it didn't make a lot of money.
Right.
I mean, it had to have made at least, let's say, 300 million to probably break even properly.
Yeah.
Which for the time, 300 million was, a lot still.
What did it make? 60?
Yeah, 60. Oh, man, it lost about 120 normally, reportedly.
Yeah, that's a huge. Yeah. Wow.
So many good one-liners too, like this. It's like, don't worry, little brother, there are more.
Then he turns around, and there's just two guys there. Boom.
Yeah.
His deliveries in the midst of the chaos are just so wonderful.
I did like how the Vendel are using basically all primitive weapons. They're using like atlatl thrown mini spears. They are almost like darts.
They are primitive.
They've got clubs, or they got like bone armor on, nothing metal really.
But they still managed to pack a punch because of their sheer numbers alone.
Right.
Plus the horses.
And the mystique,
Just
exactly.
One more thing to point out about the horses. There's not that many people back then to eat for that many people. They would be eating their horses too.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And as you said, with the fear that you drive into people, it just echoes what they did with the prince's basically with the prince's guy at the end when they chopped off his head. It's like, now he'll fear what he doesn't see. I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing for them.
Fear manipulation. Yeah.
Exactly. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
the thing is weird is that you don't really have the you don't really see anyone mobilized that much apart from the 13 warriors, which is a bit weird.
Well, culturally, in Norse cultures, you were always ready to fight because they were lived in a very harsh land. They were always under attack by their neighbors, by bandits, by bears. I mean, it was not a peaceful living time, the Viking Age.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the part where he's like, he didn't drink any fermented thing of grape or wheat. It's like, nah, it's honey.
It's funny. It's a good line.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I will admit, Vita's pretty good.
And Derek deserves a lot of credit here. He's by far the biggest name actor, right? But he knows he's part of the cast, and he's not trying to overshine those other guys.
Oh, he doesn't. He's very...
Yeah.
It's a very reserved performance.
Yeah.
Things are happening around him that he's participating in.
Did you guys get the impression that they boned down or not? I don't.
Oh yeah, with the line, he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to tell you. Gentleman doesn't tell." He wouldn't have said that if they didn't.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you only deny it if it's true, right?
So then we get our first real good close look up of the dude.
Oh right, yeah. See, so they're basically just wearing bear furs.
and
they do have a brow. They have a pretty good brow too.
Oh, well, he's got like hair glued to his chest too. That doesn't look like, that's not chest hair. That's like fur.
It was hard to tell. I kind of took it as it was supposed to show him as more primitive, like he's got like hair where.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
well, they are kind of,
yeah, almost ape-like or whatever.
That could be interesting, actually.
I mean, like real life, that's clearly no one has that much chest hair, right?
Almost like they're not they're not really human. They're like a Neanderthal kind of mixed hybrid kind of thing or something.
Yeah, and like they said, the book hinted that they were descendants of Neanderthals. Yeah.
Right, Stephen got it right. He said he's a man. He's just a man, and this is when they're like, all right, we can kill these guys.
Yep. It's a man's world.
It's not a bear, man. It's a man.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yep, exactly.
So, like this lady here, I don't know if she's like the wife of the king.
No, she's her.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think she's part of the household, but she's not the wife of the king. I think she's like a relative or
daughter, maybe.
Daughter, right?
I'm trying to what I've seen her in before.
She was in The Professional. That's the only other thing I've seen her in.
But she tells them, because they got to find out where these people are at, and she's like, "I know an oracle that can tell you." And this woman that's going to tell us these things was old when her mother was a girl. So
she was in Heat. Sorry. Go ahead.
What? Oh, the movie Heat. I was like, what are you talking about?
Sorry.
In the scene.
Well, she's in the scene too, yeah. So.
Yeah.
But again, nowadays she'd have to be in armor and the shield wall and all that. But back then, she has a role in the movie. She's in charge of the household. She's really in charge. The king is just kind of old and meandering around. It's really her that's making all the decisions.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the old woman, and she's kind of weird.
Very weird.
I mean, she might be high on mushrooms or something.
It's just the way she speaks too. She's like, and you think that there's a bit of mystique to her and everything like that. But then she's like, Beowulf, come here. He's like, how do you know my name? Well, I have ears, It's like, yeah, they probably talked about him everywhere.
Right. And here's the thing. I think Melvin Deeply was saying that the average age most men died was like 27 back then.
Yeah.
And then women didn't live much longer. So you figure if she's like in her 70s, then she's considered super ancient to them because, she's like 3 generations deep already.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she is, and they think that maybe she is, really an oracle and.
Well, right. But also, she could just have been alive long enough, heard stories, and be smart enough to think of where they think they're bears. Where are they at?
Yeah.
Where do bears live?
And two, they're in this time period, the elders were like very well thought of.
And what she tells them is not very direct. She just says, "Search for them in the ground."
It's like, yeah, so thank you, ma'am. That's basically it. It's like, all right, cool.
Super helpful, dude.
She looks like a Disney. Oh yeah, I forgot they gave her the statue.
Yep.
And notice how she has a birthmark on her head? That's also would sometimes be a sign of somebody that was touched by the gods. Also, if people had epilepsy in certain cultures, that was seen as a way of them being in touch with the other world.
I love this guy's reaction. It's like, that lady's crazy. And he's like, she says something too about the You have to kill the mother.
Yeah, you have to kill the mother and their
the
leader.
one who wears,
It wears the horns of power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have our complete goals, so we know what we're doing now.
Right. And when we see the mother, this again goes back to the feminine in this movie has a power that is unique to itself.
Yep.
And so we'll see that when we get to that part.
And one thing that I like that we said before about the length is that with this scene where they're basically riding off to go to see the caves and all of that to try and go and infiltrate the Wendell's hideout, I feel like it just goes very fast. You don't really see them gearing up and getting all their stuff. I think that just a couple of more scenes like that would have been better.
Yeah. Give him an Arnold suiting up moment.
Oh yeah, give him a commando moment.
Yeah.
Yep, and they've got the
bear skull.
Yes, Planet of the Apes kind of totems up there.
Yeah.
Although that, I don't know if that's fur or moss or what, or human skin.
This is where Ahmed realizes that bears, and because they're bear skulls, then after that he says the bear claws, the bear heads that he wears, the bear skins that they wear, they want to seem as if they're bears.
Yeah.
Right. They think they're bears.
Yep.
So years and years later, when I read The Walking Dead, not all of it, through it, and watched some of the TV show, if any of you have followed the later season or the later comic book, there's an enemy they can introduce who basically live in the zombie herds.
Oh yeah, those are the what's it called?
Yeah, the Whisperers.
Yeah, they remind me. The Whisperers reminded me of these dudes.
I see what you mean. I can get the comparison. I can get behind the comparison.
So these dudes are basically living in huts.
Yep. That's what you see on the outside. You see them in their huts, and then after that, that's when you get the pathway into the cave that they're looking for.
Yeah. Just do one cutaway to the field of horses.
Yeah. The horses destroying another village and eating people.
Yeah.
That's why they bring the heads back, so the horses can eat those.
So at the beginning of this scene, there's probably a note: remember to kill off all helmet-wearing members of the team.
Yeah.
So this part of the story kind of reminded me of like a D&D adventure. They're the party and they're going to go into the cave. And they got to fight their way past like the quote unquote orcs or goblins or whatever. And if you think about it, I mean, these bear dwelling cave people are kind of like orcs in a way. So
yeah, it does actually. It does work, especially the way that they're doing it. Oh, I do have a problem a bit further down the
or
movie.
Or bugbears. Sorry.
Yeah. There you go. Bugbears. Yep.
Bugbears,
Come on.
Then like when they're further down the movie, and they're just shimmying along in front of everyone, I was like, I think you'd probably get spotted.
Yeah.
This is the scene, I think.
Yeah. Well,
it was fun. It was a fun scene, though.
I think
it was.
What I thought was that they thought that they were like safe in there, the bear people, and they were probably high on something.
Yeah.
It's like they're all like
No
painted
doubt.
up and they're having like shamanistic visions. Like this guy, he's just kind of
see that they're
right there.
They're so high on something they could just look at one of them and just continue going on about their business.
Right. Although I did think that the body painting and the cave paintings was really cool.
After a certain point of cannibalism, like after you eat a certain number of people and have a regular diet, there is I don't know the name of it, but human body contains things that are poisonous to other humans if you eat them. So you get to get mental, basically.
Yeah, it is. But it's true. I was about to say that it's
the shakes.
it's something that it actually progresses over time.
Yeah.
So normally, if you're a cannibal, I think it takes about 30 to 50 years to go into effect. But if these guys have been cannibals for generation, then it's probably already in your blood when you're born, technically.
Oh, they're probably inbred cannibals. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this
And
too,
here's
they show
the
the big statue of the mother.
right, which
Yep.
I liked. I thought that was really cool because it shows how ancient they're. If you know like how old the statues were in real life that were found, it shows that they're still worshiping this deity and how old it is. And look at all these bones too.
Yep.
Like
I love this too.
That's where the money went.
Wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah,
These
they are
not
not men. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a great line.
And it's cool too. I think that the entire bone set is incredibly well done too.
Yeah.
Then this is where we get to all the badly lit stuff, man. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, couldn't
they
afford
go down
lighting.
this waterfall. That's when it was real D&D to me too. It's like, they gotta have a rope. Who's got their 50-foot of rope in their backpack? You know,
It's very video game-ish kind of that. Oh, you have to do this certain way, and they won't see you.
Yep.
Hey, but it's also
Yes. Did anyone bring the holy hand grenade?
it's also, you know, pulling from the original Beowulf is going through like the lake to get to Grendel's mom and stuff.
Yeah.
it wasn't it an underwater passage he had to go through.
It
when he
was
comes up?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, my knowledge of Beowulf like stems solely from the Robert Zemeckis 2007 animated film.
Stop.
No, don't.
I hate that movie. It is so bad.
I am Beowulf.
The way they try to subvert like the character of Beowulf too. Like it was like a moral epic, and then they change it to, oh no, he was just lying the whole time.
Basically, yeah.
He slept with Grendel's mom, and he's been coming up with excuses to cover that up ever since. I
For years till he grows old.
Hate it.
Yeah. But there was a good one with Gerard Butler. Have you seen that one?
No.
With Sarah Polley in it?
I don't remember.
I haven't watched it. I've seen it like on Netflix or something. Like
it's not bad. It's
a
little corny, but it's not bad.
I think it's from like 05, right? 2005, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's early. I forget when.
Is there a better Beowulf adaptation than 13th Warrior? I don't think so.
No.
It's very good. Yeah, you're right. Gerard Butler and Sarah Polley. Yeah. I
just love the way that they have their knives in their mouths while they're coming through the water. You're like, oh yeah, everyone's ready.
Yep, very pirate-like. Again, very D&D. You know,
the only one
got to sneak in here.
Yeah.
Well, if this were D&D, we would figure out how to flood that cavern. Drown them all.
Then yeah, here they are. They're all.
Does he have a little baby with a skull hat on? Or is that a club?
Yeah. No, that's a totem. That's a totem.
It's a little baby.
It does kind of look like a little baby from here, like it's got feet.
Yeah.
No, it's on a staff though. Like it's on a staff.
Yeah, it's like a scepter kind of thing.
Maybe that's how they raise their kids. They tie them to scepters or whatever.
Oh man.
One
but
thing
again,
about
these guys are like in a trance, right?
Yeah.
Rocking back and forth, kind of praying or whatever.
It's as if they're praying, but yeah, then this is when the
I don't know
assassination.
I don't know what time. Does anybody know what time period this is, or supposed to be?
Oh, like the 900s, somewhere in there.
This axe he's got here, I don't think that's.
Again, that might be like Egyptian or something.
It looks like a Middle Ages axe, like fighting other knights.
So
there is some anachronisms with their
there is
in here for sure.
When they do props for these movies, some of them try to make their new stuff, but there are whole warehouses full of this stuff that they just
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up the Beowulf. It's called Beowulf and Grendel. It's the one with Gerard Butler and Sarah Polley. But
it's almost comical though.
The tagline for the movie is "Beneath the legend lies the tale," which is just the dumbest thing I've ever read.
They should have just made that movie a comedy because it would have been perfect.
And then on the bottom is the hero, the monster, the myth. There should be another one, the tale.
The look on his face is perfectly timed.
Yeah, so they finally get to the mother's lair, and there's these roots that are suspended from the ceiling that have all the heads they've taken kind of woven into them.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Really, really nice touch.
It's like the head root cellar.
Yeah, I think that it's a really, really nice touch the way that they did, especially considering that they put the heads of the people that he knows. So it just adds more to the willingness to kill her.
Especially with the redheaded dude with the tattoo across his face, so it's obvious that it was him. Oh wait, isn't this guy the first dude that got his head ripped off?
I don't think they got those other people's heads.
No, there were about two heads.
There were two, but I don't think they got all of them.
There were two in the first fight, and then more of them died in the second fight. But I don't know if they got their heads.
But one of them isn't Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah. What's in the box?
What's on the roots? What's on the roots? What's on the roots?
Now,
what's on the roots?
The original actress was an older, heavyset woman, but it didn't sit well with the what do they call it? Where they view it to people, you know?
Test audiences.
Yeah, test audiences. So, but it's okay to kill a younger woman.
Well, I mean, I think that I could imagine, especially if they have to fight. Yeah.
Well, but this fight scene is like my least favorite part of the movie because he sees her, dip her fingernail in poison.
Yeah.
And he has a sword and decides to go in to like close quarters combat.
Yeah.
It's so weird, especially considering he just sliced one dude in an instant with one.
Like literally, all you have to do, she wouldn't be able to get close if he has a sword. So what they could have done, if they wanted to have it would have been more realistic, and I would have liked it a lot better if like she just like charges him and he kills her, but she gets in close enough to poison him.
Yeah,
that would have been so much better.
Or
if they stuck with a big fat lady and he just goes in to cut her head off, but he has to get, because she's so big,
or she
has to get close enough for her to poison him.
Like a blow.
She does what the orc does with Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, where he gets stabbed and pulls himself down the sword and it claws him.
Yeah. That'd be great. Like she's clearly crazy.
I like that she had the snake wrapped around her neck.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that obviously she's the spiritual leader for them, so she's important.
Yeah,
and
there's
she
her
just
head.
looks appropriately creepy.
Yeah. She kind of looks like the enchantress from the original Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah,
right, Cara Delevingne.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Susan Willis, who has done like 12, 15 movies.
Well, I just find it so weird. Wouldn't he know what poison is when he sees her do that?
Yeah.
They
just had to have a fight scene.
You should have taken the guy with the bow and arrow in there.
I mean, he could have just launched the sword at her like a spear. It would have worked too.
Yeah.
That would have been more dubious.
I can see why they didn't bring their bows and stuff. Let's get the cave and it's tight quarters and whatever. I could see the reason behind it. And then here, they have to go deeper because now their cover's blown and like everyone's after them and stuff.
Oh, this guy. I liked this guy.
He's good.
And he's like, today was a good day.
He's got that heavy armor on, so he's tired of like running around down in there.
He's also.
They told him to remove the armor.
Yeah,
he's been injured too. I think.
Right. So he's gonna go out the Viking way. He's gonna hold the passageway as long as he can for them to get away.
Hodor.
Right. And then when they get to the bottom, they figure out that it's a dead end, where it's the little stream they're following actually goes under some rock, and so at first they're like, all right, we'll fight by twos at the doorway. Well, two will fight while everyone rests. And when I saw that part, I was like, man, they're kind of screwed. And I was thinking about like, what would I try to do in that situation? And that's when they were like, hey, I think we can go under and hopefully it'll come out the other end.
Yeah, that's when they the surfing the surfs that they mentioned before. That's when it comes back into play.
Oh, right. They hear the thunder.
The thunder.
Yep.
Right. Somebody says something like the gods are making fun of us. It's going to rain in here, and that's when Amida's like, "Wait, that's the Thunder Cliffs," and they're like, "Oh yeah, so we must be close to the ocean. So maybe this connects." So
good payoff.
Jump in.
Was also, oh gosh, one of the best lines from our favorite Viking character is how will we know if it, No, he says, we'll find out if it's too far to swim if they don't follow us.
Right, yeah.
I said that's not the exact wording.
It is. He says that's exactly what he says.
We'll find out when he says we'll find out when they don't follow us if it's too far to swim.
It's like, yeah, pretty much, I guess.
Well, by then it will be too late. Which is, and he just starts laughing. It's great. It's a great line.
And plus, they all agree basically just before. They're like, either we drown trying or we just stay here and fight. Then they look at Beowulf and he's just like, let's go.
Yeah, luckily
that's a long way to swim too.
Light underneath there, but then the hole they got to go through in the rock, you didn't see it in the actual like skipping past, but it was not that big.
No.
Then so there were 5
there. Yep. And
basically,
now obviously
the only 5 people that we followed the entire movie.
Yeah, right.
So he's poisoned now, and it's obvious that he's probably not going to make it.
It's like, yep. I was actually thinking that they might maybe get an antidote or something like that, but it would be a bit too far-fetched, especially, for the time and the culture. They maybe wouldn't know how to do that.
I don't think it would have been unreasonable, but I don't know. I just had a feeling that he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like it is pretty much Beowulf, so
yeah, well, that's
true.
Yeah, I like this part too. They're like, when they're all going down there, the head woman hands this younger woman a knife and says, if they, get past them, we have to kill all the kids.
Yeah, I was like, damn. It's like, don't let them take anyone. And I was like, yee.
And then also they convinced the king to go in there too, because he wants to fight, but then they're like, well, someone needs to defend if they get past us, which makes sense. He'd be the last line of defense, even though he's kind of useless or whatever. But
it was clearly just a mercy for the king, just giving him publicly an excuse to be like, okay, I'm useless.
But I do like how the king wanted to do it. Like he was willing to die on.
Of course, right?
Yeah, no, he's willing. It's great.
I mean, he
has this moment of bravery, and then they're like, yeah, but we need.
That's the Viking way, You
but also
go out and battle.
Having him in there, if they were to get past, then he would have an actual legitimate reason to be in there.
Yep.
So it wasn't really. It was an out, but it kind of wasn't.
This guy kind of looks like a Klingon back here.
He does, doesn't he?
This is when they're saying that they're ready to cut and run. Basically, that they won't stand here, and that's when they say that they wish they had Beowulf on their side to fight.
Yeah. So here we do kind of get a moment of them preparing.
Yeah,
for the last fight,
which I like actually having them be there and try and fight. Even Ahmed, he's there picking up the sword. You can feel that it's finally the last stand that they have to make.
Right, and I like that they have defenses prepared, so it's just not like wide open or anything.
Yep.
And literally, I think if this next scene hadn't happened, like the prayer, so to speak, this movie would not have been as well remembered as it was. I think this scene capped off the film. Like,
oh, you're talking, where they recite the prayer for the ancestors, which mirrored the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, it's super.
But I mean, Bullyward coming out, the whole leading them,
it's
like it ended perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. This part here, she's like, if they get past it, we're gonna have to kill everybody, and they're like, let's kill everybody with these rusty knives here.
Just goes to show how primitive, how screwed up our ancestors all are.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, it would save him from the horror of getting killed or taken as captive,
Or eaten alive. Who knows what they do to you?
Take the kids for the next generation, or
I mean, they'll sell the kids. Well, I mean, they might eat the kids, but normally they sell the kids.
I'm sure they'd eat the kids, man.
Yeah.
It's like
maybe
it's
maybe
a
that's
snack.
where the guy's baby scepter came from. He had a baby.
Yeah, the baby scepter. It's messed up.
I love how his dog comes with him, Beowulf. It's like, fuck it, we have the dog with us.
Yeah.
No
Okay,
problem.
bro, I got your back, buddy.
I think that's an Irish wolfhound, isn't it?
I think so too.
I think so.
I love how everyone just stops and stares at him like, yeah, even though he's weak, he still comes here because he knows that we need him for mostly moral support, just to show the troops that we can still do this.
Then the best.
It's also part of the Viking mythology.
Yeah, to go to Valhalla,
you need to die in battle, and it's like technically, I don't know if being poisoned and dying after counts.
Not just die in battle. You have to, because the way it works is every Norse god has a sort of, I guess you would say a temple or whatever. So you go where you go to get to Valhalla. You have to call Odin. You have to attract Odin's attention as being a ruthless warrior.
Yeah.
Odin doesn't want nice guy warriors. He wants guys like there was a king called Eric the Murderer or something like that. He became king by murdering his entire family with an axe. And in the Icelandic sagas, Odin welcomed him to Valhalla and says, "You're my type of guy," basically.
Damn. Odin must have been a cool dude.
Yeah.
Well, in the lore, Odin, like, he's not a god you wanted to actually have to call on. Like, when Odin showed up to battle, Odin was like, Odin's name literally means the berserker, the fury. And, like, if you pray to Odin to come to help you in battle, it better be because there's no other option. Because when Odin shows up, he's going to kill everything in his path.
Yeah.
There's, like, no in between, And he's going to kill till his fury is sated.
What do you guys think about the action scene, basically with the mix of cinematography and choreography especially, considering that something like, let's say, Braveheart came out 4 years prior and still has some great looking action scenes.
Yeah.
It's not the best. It's a little messy, but it works.
Right. I thought the horse scenes with the dynamic way they were like going through and how the shots were done. I don't know if they had like a pullback dolly or whatever, but I thought that was really well done. It showed the power of the horses and how fast they were. This part here, where he like hits him with the two-hander and knocks him off the horse, I was a little like, but I guess he had that chest piece, so
yeah.
But it looked like he got pulled off on a wire to me.
Well, you had to, because no actor's going to be able to swing a sword like that.
Well, no. You know what I mean.
Or no stuntmans are going to get hit.
Yeah. Well, you would be surprised. Read about Bruce Lee and how stuntmen hated
Oh
him.
yeah.
Oh yeah, but that was basically
Those stuntmen took some
Hong
pretty good
Kong
hits.
Chinese filmmaking over there. That was basically no safety required. You were
No,
just
but
paid to
then he
get beat
came
up.
here, kicked off American stuntman, and then supposedly Judo Gene LaBelle had to give him a talking to. But then they became friends after that. So
But
Yeah.
how that whole sequence was also like in a slow-mo kind of, right?
Yeah.
Where the sound was different. It was all
Right.
when he hit him instead of being full speed. I sometimes slow-mo is okay, but a lot of times I prefer things if they're in
Real time.
real time, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the slow-mo gets overused sometimes.
No, it
Yeah.
does. Especially if you're watching something by Zack Snyder. It's like,
Yeah.
Right. After
An
he did
hour
the
later. Oh, it's still
bullet
slow
time
motion.
thing in video games, and everybody started using it in video games and in movies. Like,
Yep.
I think the reason why it's not the best action I've ever seen. It's not terrible either, though. It's a little bit jump cutty. But the reason why it works for the majority of the film, despite being as good as Lord of the Rings or, like you said, Braveheart, is because of the atmosphere of the movie.
yeah,
Being like fear, and it's supposed to be mysterious, and so they do kind of get away with without having the best choreography, because it works with the tone of the film.
I agree.
yeah.
But
They're supposed to be in a gritty, muddy, grimy slog fest.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the end of the Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That remind. I wonder if whoever. Well, I don't know if McTiernan or Crichton directed this end scene, but I wonder if one of them were thinking of the Seven Samurai when they did it.
Well, I'm sure that it was big inspiration. The Seven
Yeah.
Samurai, 13th Warrior, 13 guys going into battle, having to basically defend the place. So yeah. What do you guys think about how the film ended? Because the battle scene wasn't really like, especially for the ending battle, it wasn't really fleshed out. If that's the proper term I would use, so fleshed out, because once it starts, I think it lasts for a minute or two, and then the leader is dead, and everyone just retreats.
right.
Well, if you watch when the bad guys are riding away on their cannibal horses, a lot of those horses are empty and dudes are dropping off of them.
Mhm.
So I got the impression that they the town, between the town with the bow and arrows and them charging in broad daylight and all that, that they actually killed a lot of those dudes and killed the leader. So since their like spirit mother was dead and the leader was dead, basically Grendel and his mom were dead. Then the enemy are like, we have to retreat and choose a new leader or whatever.
Right. And I took it like what would happen in like a lot of different genres when you have like orc type things. Whenever there's no leader, they immediately fall to infighting, and that's to determine who the new leader is, and then that allows them to not come back as such a major threat. Also, at the end, they're all happy, and then the dog does the old woo, and they look over and he's dead. So I thought that part was kind of kind of poignant.
Yeah, I kind of caught this. I thought it might have been. I thought this was a cross back here for a second, but it's a spearhead.
Oh, it's not a cross attached to his helmet.
No,
it's probably one of those signs like in The Departed from Scorsese. Every time you see a cross, it means that someone's about to die.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just waiting for its own baby to be put on it.
Well, if this is set 922, then all of these people know what Christianity is.
Yeah.
It's not like unknown to them.
Yep.
Well, that's what the line meant about this is the last time you ever see that, because they're all being mass converted to Christianity and Islam, depending on where you were, forcibly, basically.
Yeah, it was only the basically like the small settlements that were keeping up with the tradition at the time, but there were less and less of them.
The main reason that especially Christianity was pushed by the kings and leaders of those areas is because it's very unifying.
Yep.
Right. Whereas if you worship Odin and Thor, there's no real I mean, it unifies you as a culture, but there's no Bible to follow. It's just you just kind of do whatever you want and run around and be free. Whereas
you basically have a big cliff notes that you follow.
Exactly. But with Christianity, there's very strict rules about things, and it's very uniting. And also, everybody gets to go to a version of Valhalla, whereas under the Viking way, only warriors could go. So really, women couldn't really go. So now it's open to everybody. It's more equitable, and it's not just we're going to fight the end of the world. It's a paradise. So it was very appealing.
And this is interesting too. The ships they've shown through the whole movie have had that big ornate headpiece on it, and this ship doesn't have it.
That's because the other ships were warships, and regular trading ships didn't have that on it.
Yeah.
That's why they called them dragon boats, and the other ones were called canars or nars.
And I'm not criticizing the religion of Islam or the religion of Christianity when I say this. I'm talking about the industry and the and whatever. But it's very profitable to make everyone Christian or Muslim who's not, so that you can make more in taxes. So you could,
right. There was a great incentives to convert people for the control. That's why they did it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what a shot to go out of the movie with too.
Yeah, it isn't. Maybe that's what they spent all their millions on.
That one practical shot,
What do you want to do, McKinnon? We want to get an actual Viking boat with actual Viking sailing and sail in the actual water. It only costs $64 million. We can do it.
They had to buy the lake to.
Yeah, the permit is what costs everything basically.
And they found a bunch of Norse guys and trained them in Viking sailing for 2 years.
I actually wonder how much of the budget went to the production itself for all of the costumes and the town, the house, and all of that. The king's place.
Yeah, somebody somewhere had that information. There had to be a reckoning at the end of this. Like somebody got fired.
Oh, for sure.
Jimmy got fired.
Yeah,
no, but you know what I mean. Like there should have been other people behind the scenes.
Oh, I'm sure. Like probably the assistants and stuff, man. They all got sacked.
All right, Blair, have a good one, man.
Losing money.
Thanks for stopping by.
Later, Blair.
Remember the studios they have big tax write-offs for all this stuff. So
if you've released the movie, I don't think that you can claim it as a tax write-off.
Oh yeah, you could.
You could.
I thought if they shelve it, then they can do that. Like it was so bad that they're just going to take the hit on it.
No, okay. So until they make a profit, they owe zero taxes, right? So, but to make a profit on a movie, you have to make it cost plus its advertising.
Yes.
So it's basically a tax write-off in the sense of no taxes on any of the money this movie brings in, unless it made like whatever what it costs, 120 million, 160, whatever. Plus double for the advertising, 320. So until they hit $320 million, there's zero taxes paid on the movie.
Okay, I see what you mean. I see.
What they do with Batgirl makes it an actual deduction, Well,
that's what Disney's been doing with all of the movies that they're just axing.
Yeah.
Using it for tax write-offs.
Tax write-off. Tell us a fake budget.
The stuff that's already done that they're just pulling from streams from their streaming platforms too. That's a tax write-off.
And even with the streaming, it's even worse because you don't know the actual numbers and how much money they're actually making in comparison to the box office.
Well, I read an interesting article about that. So some dude said on Twitter basically that in order for this strike to be resolved, the streamers have to release their actual streaming numbers. Because that's what the big fight is over streaming revenue for these writers and actors.
Yep.
And those are either going to be really good or really bad numbers.
Oh, they're going to be very, very bad. Very bad.
Like they're going to owe some people lots of money, or they are taking it in the shorts badly.
Well, I mean, streaming itself has never proven to be a profitable thing, except for maybe when Netflix basically had the monopoly of everything because of
Right.
Everyone were basically just licensing out their products so that Netflix could show it. So you only had one thing to pay for. But now they're trying to reel in customers. So they're producing things with huge budgets. I mean, look at Secret Invasion. That thing cost 212 million reportedly, and there's no way that needed a 212 million dollar budget.
The other problem is once Netflix started producing their own movies, they like their business model was spend more than we can afford.
Yep.
To bring in more subscribers, and then eventually we'll start making money. And they never got there.
That's because the market started getting saturated.
Exactly.
With other streaming services that want $10 or $15 a month to see their everything divided up. You know.
Yep. I disagree in the case of Marvel and Netflix for one particular reason. Had Netflix and Marvel not gone woke with all that crap and actually produced decent woke-free content, I mean, look at the range on the first season of The Witcher, despite being half woke. You know,
it was good.
Imagine if they didn't. You know, The Witcher was set to make a lot of money. You know, had they not gone woke with that Cowboy Bebop remake, it was.
That was terrible.
It literally could have been the next Game of Thrones in the time when everyone was looking for the next Game of Thrones.
Right. Well, now you got House of the Dragon, which is, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, man. I really liked House of the Dragon. I thought it was better than the first season of Game of Thrones. Actually,
I liked it better than anything in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I did not think I was going to like it at all.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Is I thought it was going to be garbage, and it wound up being good. The king coming in at the end and walking up to that was the best thing I've seen in TV in forever.
That's the best thing I've ever seen in TV. Yeah. And just a scene of a guy walking,
an old man with one eye going up their butt,
and then another dude bending over.
Right. It was very well done. And I mean, we could do a whole show on that. I've been on shows about it and everything, but
it's incredible writing.
It was great. But the sets were good. The armor was good. Everything looked good. Yep. Even the dragons looked decent, you know?
But
everything looked good.
But there was no Antonio Banderas.
So I just have a couple of trivia about it. Dennis Storhoy, the translator guy, almost drowned during the underwater section.
Oh, wow.
Antonio Banderas jumped into the water and pulled him out of the water and saved his life.
Wow.
So I guess technically they never did get followed, you know?
Yeah. And this is although rumors persist that this was one of the most expensive movie flops ever, with a budget of $160 million, the producers claimed it actually cost $90 million before marketing. The movie grossed.
There's a scale. When I look it up, it says 85 to 160 million. Like, okay, but what is it?
Yeah, right. The movie grossed $32,698,000.
I've never seen a budget with a dash in the middle, with a range.
Arranged budget.
Yeah, it was 61,000 worldwide.
It's probably made money back on terms of the streaming and the Blu-ray and all that. So.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, throughout the years, because I actually had it on DVD. That's how I watched it. My dad bought it on DVD, so that's how we were watching it when I was younger. So I'm sure that, you know, so many years later, over 20 years later, it's probably recouped back its money.
Yeah,
I got to watch it in high school,
Yeah,
we were Beowulf.
Oh, like as part of a curriculum?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
You know, as a Viking, you would never live that down. An Arab jumped in the water and saved your life. Just
it saves a save, I guess.
I mean, that's pretty embarrassing for a seafaring race to.
I don't even know if it was common for people to know how to swim back then.
Sailors for sure.
Yeah, true.
Even into the 1700s, there were people even sailors didn't know how to swim.
That is true.
So based off of my movie rating system, which is I don't usually give like a 1 through 10 or whatever. I give a when would I see it again? Will I see it again? Do I want to see it again? And this is a movie that, yes, if it comes on TV, I'll watch it. It's a high rewatch for me. Whereas certain other movies I've seen once and I don't care if I ever see them again. Or maybe I'll see, once in 5 years or something, or once in 10 years would be a good rewatch. But this is a movie that I'll watch every time it comes on. Like this, Aliens, Predator, The Mummy.
Weirdly enough, one of those movies for me is The Gray. Every time I see The Gray on TV, I just sit down.
Is that the Liam Neeson film?
Yeah, the one with the
wolves. You can't watch that
Yeah,
film
the
because what Liam Neeson does to those wolves.
Oh, that is
They had to cut the whole real ending out of it because it was so horrible what he did to those wolves with his bare hands. Man,
let's see, the 1984 Dune movie. I watched that one whenever it comes on.
Dude, it's a bad movie, but I love it.
I like
I
the
have a
art
love-hate
direction in it.
thing with that movie.
The art direction and like the sets and the atmosphere.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's fun to watch. It's also hilarious because like the biggest thing when you're adapting, a book to film is, okay, how are we going to portray all of the internal monologue? Like introduce a character that wasn't there in the book that you have to go explain everything to so the audience can hear what you're saying instead of just saying everything in your head. And the Dune movie's solution to the problem is, no, just have internal monologue the entire film. Like 90% of the dialogue is internal monologue, and it's so bad.
I don't know. I saw it when I was a teenager in the theater, and I liked it.
Well, I love it.
And then if you see the extended cut where it's actually got like animations to explain like the backstory, like it has like storyboards basically.
Yeah. Like the theatrical version, leaving aside all the stupid changes he made, like the weirding modules and all that, right? It's still enjoyable to a point, right? But he cut the entire story out of his theatrical version. I had read the book when I was 5 or 6. I read Dune like 10 times. It's a great novel. And I remember going to theater and when I was, I don't know, what was I, 86, 13 years old. All my friends and even people I didn't know, adults, saying, "You read the book? Could you tell me what this meant?" Like walking out of the theater, I was explaining what the story to like 15 people just in that one little time. And like, what was he thinking? Explain something.
Well, I guess the whole point of that whole thing is that this movie for me is up there with that movie, and like I said, Predator, Aliens, Alien 1, just Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm not saying it's as good as Lord of the Rings, but it's up there with rewatchability for me.
Yeah.
Which means that it's a movie that I enjoy.
Rewatchability is one of the biggest factors that I take into account, especially when reviewing a movie to recommend it to people. It's like, there are a lot of movies where you can watch once and be like, oh yeah, this was a great movie, but I'm not going to rewatch it soon,
Yeah.
There's some you don't want to rewatch, like Schindler's List. We're like, okay, yes, fantastic movie. I'm probably not going to watch it for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. The Pianist too.
Right.
Well, it's like what was the Sound of Freedom, the Schindler's List. You watch that movie once, you know what I mean? You enjoy it once, you get the message. If it's a quality movie, maybe 10 years later you watch it one more time. That's it,
Right. It's like Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh yeah.
Studio Ghibli animation.
You can only watch that film once because there's nothing to gain from it upon a rewatch,
But The 13th Warrior is like you said, it's very rewatchable. It's the kind of film that you like show other people, like when you're like, oh wait, you haven't seen this, like sit down,
right, and it has
come over, we're gonna watch it,
and it has quotable moments in it, which I don't really get from more modern movies. When's the last movie that came out to where you were just quoting stuff out of it, like what the actors were saying, and it has a line that everybody knows. Like if you say "I'll be back," everybody knows what that means.
Right.
The Dark Knight.
Yes, stick around.
I mean, I quote some of the bad movies, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like the last, I don't know. Even like comedies nowadays, they're not quotable.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Office Space has at least 20 quotes that you can just pull out of thin air and everyone knows what you're talking about, you know?
I don't think that a lot of movies nowadays like have that much impact to where you can quote nice one-liners. You know, maybe you've got the Avengers movies because they were such a cultural phenomenon, but the quotes aren't really as punchy as films from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
They're more like catchphrases than like
Right.
good quotes.
Like, does mother knoweth thou wearest the drapes? There were some pretty good ones from
Iron Man.
From the
Iron
early
Man.
era,
Yeah. That was the first Avengers movie.
The first
when he
Avengers,
meets Thor.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of one after like 2016.
There are things you
sure
could
there's
quote
one or
even from
two,
modern movies, right? But they're not like lines you could drop. Like if you say like this, "I'll be back," we know what actor we're talking about, and we know we're talking about like 2 or 3 different movies, basically. You know, Terminator plus Commando. We said it. You know, whatever. You know, or like Superman the movie. Don't worry, I've got you. You've got me. Who's got you? You know, it's like for the helicopter scene. There's no lines in the last 5 or 6 years that signify a scene. Like the Warrior's Prayer in this signifies a scene. You know what I mean? When you, you know.
Right. And maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe those movies had some stuff in there.
Yeah.
But you know, like obviously if you say I am Groot, but everybody will know who it is.
It's like it's like a catchphrase.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's just anyway.
So
I enjoy this movie a lot.
I'll give you a line.
Me too.
Okay. You should have aimed for the head. That's it. It's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, you should have gone for the head.
Yeah, it should have gone for the head. It's true.
There's a few from Rocket Raccoon too. Just a bunch of jerks, or what does he say? He's a bunch of losers standing in a circle.
No, but I mean the scene signifier. You know, like you should have gone for the head, then the snap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like scene signifier.
Right. But yeah, so that's kind of my my rating on it. Is it's a definite watch every time it comes on. I really enjoy it. And if anybody in the chat or who's rewatching this has not seen it before, highly recommend it.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that we've spoiled the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about these, we give a basic rough outline, and then you're not really watching it; you're just clipping.
It's Beowulf. You should. You should have known the spoilers a long time ago.
You didn't tell them about the baby scepters. Oh wait, we did.
Yeah, the skull baby.
I give it an easy 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Right. It's not a perfect film by any stretch, but it's a good film.
Man, I'm harsh on my numbering. Like, I'd probably give this I'd say 4 or 5. But I'm very, very harsh on my numbers out of 10 on anything.
Do you have give it as an example of a high rated movie then?
So I'd say The Thing is probably a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so
You're talking about the original 80s, right?
No, the remake.
Yeah, the 80s one. So basically, well, I was about to say the 80s one is a remake, but yeah.
No, they're actually both adaptations of a novel.
Yep, Who Goes There?
Yeah.
Which you all should read.
Yep, it is. I
it's
love
not very
the original.
long. It's pretty short. It's a couple.
The original, The Thing from Another World from 57 is actually my favorite. I even have a video.
I love it. Yeah, I love all 3 adaptations of that.
Yeah, I was on a review for that, and then, but obviously, and then there's some argument about the 2011 one.
I like it, but it's not very good because of how dumb the scientists are. But I like the fact that it takes elements from the original, The Thing from Another World, and it takes the science versus military aspect of that movie, and there's also the actual thing from John Carpenter's version inside the 2011 version. So it's a mix, but it's not well done, but I appreciate it.
Well, the shame about the remake of the remake is that they did it all practically, and then the studio covered it up with CGI.
And bad CGI.
It's so dumb too. It's
I
so
don't
weird.
That
Is
understand it.
somebody sharpening a blade on a?
Yes.
It's not me.
You can't have a Viking show without sharpening some blades.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're coming up on 3 hours.
Brothers, can I give my rating for you, Jacob?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Brothers, this glorious tribute to our Viking ancestors merits only one thing: 4 out of 5 clashes of the blade. Hopefully, it won't break.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about these
I would give it
movies.
Yeah, I would give it a 5 out of 10. But as enjoyability, I'd give it an 8, 9.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm up there with that for enjoyability.
Yeah.
Which is why I do the rewatchability, or why I do that scale instead of a 1 through 10. I mean, I could break it down cinematography wise and acting and all that, but it's simpler that way.
Yeah, there are lots of movies that are objectively mediocre, but they're so good to rewatch.
Right.
There's better acting, writing, cinematography, and anything than almost any movie made in the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
There's actually only a handful of good movies that were made in the past 5 years.
We just take out Top Gun Maverick, and
I am looking forward to the Dune Part 2.
I haven't seen Dune Part 1. I have Mr. Brown and the Little Platoon. They've been telling me to watch it, so I think I'll finally give it a shot.
It was really good. I mean, I could pick anything apart. I could pick Lord of the Peter Jackson of Renfield apart, but it was really good. You know?
Yeah, it was not terrible. I just keep comparing it to the 1984 one, and I think I just need to see it another time because I've only seen it once.
I'm actually surprised that that movie even got a sequel, because it didn't make that much profit if you think about it. It had a budget of 160 million and only made back 402. So it's not that much of a profit.
It wasn't a failure either, but
No, and I was kind of surprised that they were gonna wait and see how that one did before it made the second one.
Wasn't
but it's probably going to get delayed though.
Didn't Dune lose revenue because it was also simul-released to streaming?
It was, but it still made money.
So. Yeah, it did make money because they were encouraging people to go back to the cinema with Dune, because it was around the same time as Tenet, I think. So Tenet was the movie that had reopened cinemas. Yeah, basically.
And Part 3 has been confirmed as an adaptation of Dune Messiah, and that's all
really?
Dune.
Really?
His intention was to make a trilogy, but split the first book up and just adapt the first 2 books.
I've heard that Dune is good, so I hope that it's successful, the second one.
I think it is one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. I just read all the Dune books, and it's wonderful.
I'd say it, especially if you've read the book.
Yeah.
Dune is great. Messiah and Children of Dune are really good. I kind of debate the rest of them.
Oh, you don't like God Emperor of Dune? That's the best one.
The whole series loses me with the Duncan, Idaho spam. The whole
I don't know. God Emperor of Dune is just so
and
good.
then the whole fetish invaders. I mean, come on. You know, I'm trying to be vague because people might read it, right? I think you should read it once because they're okay books. You know what I mean?
How many books are there?
That's a loaded question too. There are 6 books that were written
by Herbert,
and then there are about 50 books that were written by his son, trying to milk the franchise.
Yeah. The only 3 good ones by his kid are the House prequels. And that's basically because they were outline material from his father.
Yeah.
Like he took the notes of what led into Dune, and he and the other guy just wrote them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what always happens with geeks and nerds, ladies and gentlemen. You start talking about other stuff, and down a rabbit hole you go.
Well,
I will
of
be
course, man.
before
It's good.
it comes out in November, right? November
Okay,
3rd.
well, so
I think.
it's supposed to come out in November 1st, but they've been saying, "Oh, we might have to push it back because of the strike and till 2024 because apparently people won't be able to promote it." But that
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
make
it.
that it doesn't make sense though because I've been reading all of the stupid demands from these guilds, which are ridiculous.
And
by
I
the
mean,
way.
it's not that far away, and November is just around the corner, so you can still do it without promotion, technically.
Yeah,
Like,
no, but that's the thing. They can promote it. Like I've read through all of their stipulations. You're not allowed to promote properties that are currently being struck. But this was finished well before the writer's strike, so you should be able to promote it. But they're saying, "Oh, we might delay it." I don't know.
So if it's already in the that's right. If it's already in the can, you can.
It's not being struck.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
okay, guys. Because November gives
That's
us the true
crazy.
champ, Godzilla -1.
oh yeah,
That's my
sure.
most
Godzilla
anticipated
-1 is
film.
coming out too.
What?
That's a
Godzilla
whole Godzilla
-1.
film, Godzilla -1.
Yeah, the new Godzilla movie. It's not related to any of the Kong and the Godzilla versus Kong stuff.
It's not a
This is,
legendary. It's a Toho.
yeah, Toho.
-1?
Well, that'll be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a Japanese naming thing. I mean, it makes no sense in English. Like in English, it's probably called like Godzilla, Godzilla Year Zero or something.
Wait,
like
this
that,
looks
you know?
good.
Oh yeah, it does. The first trailer came out. We saw the Godzilla's face. It looks pretty good, actually.
I like that they still, even though it's not a legendary film, they're using the legendary modeling for Godzilla, which is, for those who don't know, legendary Godzilla is based on a bear.
Are you talking about the fat Godzilla?
Is he fat?
Yeah, whatever the new movies are, he's like really thick. I
Well,
like it.
he's thick like a grizzly bear. He's based on a grizzly bear.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not Roland Emmerich. That just looks like a long ass lizard mixed with like
Oh,
a
God.
That was terrible.
That 98 piece of garbage. That
yeah,
it
I
was
don't know
like
what-
a fucking
that was a-
T-Rex or whatever.
yeah.
That was
Basically,
a parody movie.
The only reason I watched that film is John Reno.
Yeah, yes. I mean, he's amazing, but that was just terrible. How are you not going to have the atomic breath? Come on.
oh yeah, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
instead of atomic breath, we basically got like weird ass Godzilla babies.
Yeah,
right.
it was like, come on, man. Just,
You get like one throw-in scene where Godzilla does something with a fiery breath. And
you have to. Godzilla's face has to be able to emote. Not a lot, but it has to have some, and which harkens back to basically a dude in a suit.
Godzilla has to be.
I did
incapable of
find
being beaten by the military.
Yeah.
Not easily blown up by submarines.
Right.
Yeah.
I did like the scene of him coming up into the harbor. You know, he's just underwater.
Yeah, that one's good.
And
then
those
after
two
you have
guys
the-
fishing.
Yeah,
Like, oh no.
even the way that the pier basically breaks as he's approaching is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh,
But overall, the movie was meh.
I know. It just you gotta like the newer ones are better. I
for
wasn't a big fan of the Kong versus Godzilla just because it's zero contest
I
really.
never watched them.
In my opinion,
yeah.
Godzilla just destroy Kong.
Pretty much, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They shouldn't really be in the same thing, in my opinion.
Man, I was rooting for Kong, bro. 'Cause it's like, come on.
Well, I like King Kong. I just don't.
They're
he's just
they're
not gonna
almost
be able-
like different class of Titan.
exactly
It's true.
right.
Well, Godzilla is like the Undertaker, and Kong is like Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah, I mean they had to give him that special axe thing or whatever to
Yeah.
even be
Basically,
Yeah.
they even needed to power him up, man.
Yeah. Now I like the 2005 Kong Skull Island or whatever it was called.
The King Kong,
Yeah,
That
the
was
one that
awesome.
had Jack.
Peter
Brie
Jackson
Larson.
Peter Jackson.
But I
The
liked
one with Brie
I liked
Larson
the
in it?
world, like the island and all that was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool, especially the fact that they turned it into like the first hour is New York and the boat. The second hour is basically just the island, and then the third hour is Kong in New York, which is pretty cool.
Right. I just thought the island was very mysterious. It almost had like a Conan kind of feel to it.
It was
Yeah.
disgusting with all the bugs too.
Yeah.
That scene, by the way, which Jackson put in his movie, was in the original one, and it was so scary to the audiences. They destroyed the film.
Yeah, what?
Oh, you're talking
man.
about where the the native people kill them or whatever?
No, when the ship guys, when the sailors all wind up in that valley with all the bugs.
Oh, right. Yeah. The original 30s movie is really good for the time.
It is actually.
They just invented like talking film like 4 years before that.
Yep.
And also it's before they had the what is it, the film board or whatever. So it was kind of racy.
Yeah.
Especially for back then.
Yeah. It was really good for the time it came out.
Yeah.
But
well, guys, we're almost at 3 hours here. So
you said that 30 minutes ago.
I know.
Yeah, because Jacob knows better.
What's 3 hours, Jacob? What's 3 hours?
Yeah.
Well, guys, what's anybody have anything they want to?
Yeah, sure. You guys. Oh wait, this isn't a plug. This is a question. Since you guys read a lot, are you guys looking forward to the last voyage of the Demeter, the Dracula movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It seemed.
I don't know that there are parts of the trailer that grabbed me and parts that just didn't. I don't know.
It's literally like half of a chapter from the book.
Yeah, that's the thing. But there's the BBC that actually made a Dracula show, 3 episodes actually, and the second episode is an hour long, and it's basically just that chapter, and it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it looks bad.
No.
I just don't know how interesting a story you can tell when.
I'm willing to give it a chance, but like I said, I'm weird of any movie they make nowadays. It's just because of all the wokeness and all that. But I'm willing to give them a chance. Worst comes to worst, like I always watch before I buy now. So I'll watch it. If I like it, I'll buy it. If I don't, then and I don't even watch. Like I'll know within 20 minutes if I like a film or not. You know what I mean? So
it's true.
Yeah.
It's also like you know how it's going to end, right? So. There's not exactly suspenseful.
Sometimes that's an issue, and other times they can make it work.
You can,
seeing
it's
how
hard.
the journey actually goes, even though you know how it's going to end.
The first part of that trailer, I was getting like alien vibes.
Yeah,
because on a ship, you're not. But then they show the creature. They show the creature.
Yeah, they show it. That's like Monster Movie 101. You have to show your creature at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
I hate that when they spoil. Like there was a movie I watched a lot of horror movies, like probably thousands of them, and there was those horror films where they go to videotape in the building, look at a ghost, and all of a sudden demons pop out and kill them. Those type of movies.
Yeah.
So there was one great shot in this whole film, right? And they put it in the trailer and on the cover for the DVD box. Yeah. And I'm like the whole film is a setup. It's like an hour and a half film. It's an okay movie, but it's a setup for this particular scene. It starts right there, and they spoil it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Wreck?
No. It was called Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters is it's the found footage one, right?
Yeah, and then the scenes where the thing comes out of nowhere and just grabs someone.
Yep. I know which one you're talking about.
That's when the film really picks up, right, from that chunk of void. Yep. But they reveal that on the cover of the Blu-ray and DVD and in the trailer. What were you doing? It's like it's like in the Dune 2 Part 2 trailer where if you don't want a spoiler, close your ears, okay? Why are they showing Paul right at a particular point where he's going to fight a certain person, even hinting at it in that trailer? That's supposed to be a surprise. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. They give away too much. It'd be like these days they would show the Matrix 1. They'd show like him waking up in the pod and pulling the thing out of his mouth.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, and totally ruin it, because I watched a couple of trailers for that movie, then went and saw it in the theater and was completely blown away by the fact that was what was really going on.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a cyberpunk futuristic movie, and that was a big twist for me. It was great that I didn't know. Nowadays, it'd be all over every, on YouTube and leaks, and it'd be in the trailer.
Can you imagine what they would do with The Usual Suspects?
Oh, yeah.
I know.
They'd give away Kaiser Soze in an instant.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, folks, it's coming
guys,
up on
let's do
3
this.
hours.
Okay, does anybody have anything to plug if they want to plug anything?
I'll be quick. I just finished reviewing season 2 of From. You also be watching that if you like horror TV.
Ooh, nice.
I found another horror TV show, a Spanish one on HBO Europe called 30 Coins. I was shocked at how awesome the first episode was. 3 episodes. The reviews aren't out for it yet, but I want to start those. But that's another great horror TV show you'll be watching, and I'll be reviewing. And I got some book reviews up for Dead Man Tan, which is James A. Butcher. That's Jim Butcher's son, his first book. And I reviewed the 2014 edition of the Adventure of Tom Bombadil and Other Verses from the Red Book.
Cool.
Tolkien editors. So there you go.
Nice.
Over on Unbearable Study, if you're right next to my bail mat. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. On Thursday, I'm going to be on Room of the Empire's show, his show, and we're going to be talking about Secret Invasion. So we've been slugging through that thing from the beginning, so hopefully we'll see how it goes. It's been quite the journey.
What a boring show.
Yeah.
I stream every Sunday night, Best Gen. We just talk about the current thing, which is currently Secret Invasion ending, and I guess we're also going over season 2 of the Good Omens, which comes out this week. So
nice. I've got a Barbie review that'll probably be coming out this weekend, and then I've got a show that I'm starting on Saturday afternoon. It'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're gonna be breaking down the Batman. So that'll be fun.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm Whoopi Goldberg.
Another race swap.
Yes, on the View, we have to race swap everyone on the.
Yeah.
For,
So I've got a new show coming out on Saturday evening on 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All in the Mix. We're going to be talking about storytelling, and that'll be fun. And then next Tuesday is Twilight Zone. I'll be doing I can't remember what episodes, but yeah, I'll be doing 2 episodes of Twilight Zone. So keep an eye out for that.
That's always a good show.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Rod Sterling.
Yep. Well, guys, thank y'all for coming on. I'm glad y'all could come on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you could come on. I know it's late over there for you.
it's the butt crack of dawn right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all. And thanks to the chat for coming in and hanging out
Thank
with
you,
us.
Chat.
And that's about it. Yeah. Y'all have a good week and
You too.
Be here next week.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Later, everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Are you still on? Okay. When you want some